over, and we so appreciate all of you staying with us here on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number's here, 580-5436-580. KIDO. Joe Biden is done. He's going to address the nation. What's he going to say? I think we have a clip of what Joe's going to say.
Whoa.
Well, he was a good Joe. Goodbye, Joe. What is that song? And again, Bo's going to go another reference to times before my things that happened before my time. Yes, Bo. One of Sweet Williams' favorite songs, Patti Smythe, from a group called Scandal, called Goodbye to You. Goodbye to You. Maybe we'll play Goodbye to You. We'll get to R&R, but first we go to Jonathan Savage, who joins us on Fox News. So you can hear Fox News only on KIDO Talk Radio here in the Boise area. Mr. Savage, how are you?
I'm all right. You know, when you said our long national nightmare is over, I thought you were referring to the time between when we last spoke and now. But that was what you're talking about, no?
Well, I you know something? We could call you the United Kingdom nightmare if you would like that. I don't think anyone else will get
the UK nightmare.
Right, we'll get that reference, but it is a compliment. But yes, here we are. The world reacts. America is great again. Does the world think so?
Well, the world, I think, is apprehensive. Much of the world is. There's a big meeting going on right now of about 50 European leaders. It was scheduled a long time ago, but it's absolutely perhaps being dominated by the re-election of Donald Trump as U.S. president. And here's a few of the reasons why this is a bit of an earthquake for Europe. First of all, the UK and Europe coming to terms with the fact that they're very dependent on the U.S. military at a time when there's a 2.5-year-long war in Ukraine that many Europeans feel that Ukraine has to win, but they're not sure that Donald Trump feels the same way. And also at a time when the economies here in the UK, right across Europe, are struggling for growth, and they fear tariffs, a trade war, a transatlantic trade war could be in the offing. So they're meeting together to, I guess, formulate a strategy, but at the same time offering congratulations, promising to work together, saying all the diplomatic things you'd expect them to say.
Well, right. The gig is up because now people are going to have to pay to be in NATO, but already people are speculating that the war in Ukraine will be coming to an end. Is that what people believe?
We know that Donald Trump likes to make a deal, and I would imagine there's no bigger deal he could make right now than one which ends the war in Ukraine. But exactly the way it ends will shape Europe, the world, for some time to come. He has said in the past he could end it in a day, but he hasn't said whether he wants Ukraine to win. The Kremlin was asked, do you think Donald Trump coming to power will lead to an end to the war? The Kremlin said, let's wait and see. We still see the U.S. as a hostile state. But there are talks, they are saying at the Kremlin that it's possible that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin could hold a phone call before the inauguration.
Well, and we could possibly see a summit. Again, there's very different relations between the Biden administration and the Trump administration. So we will see how that plays out. Anything else we should be looking out for?
Let me tell you about the UK, and it shows you what a difference an election or two can make. Donald Trump came to the UK on a state visit in 2019 under the previous Conservative government. We now have a Labour government in power. And here, the British Foreign Secretary's tweets have come under the spotlight. He's our equivalent of the Secretary of State. A few years ago, David Lammy, the British Foreign Secretary, tweeted that Donald Trump is a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath and a profound threat to the international order. Yesterday, David Lammy posted on X, the UK has no greater friend than the US. Congratulations to Donald Trump. We look forward to working with you and J.D. Vance in the years ahead. Diplomacy.
Yeah, I'm amazed. And I don't know if you could be like this. Could you be like these people that hose each other over all the time and then they pretend to be their buddies? I can't do that. If you cross me, it's over.
I mean, I always thought it would be fun to be a diplomat, but it depends on the circumstance, doesn't it? And, I think actually, people are like, oh, Donald Trump's not going to like these old tweets from David Lammy. Donald Trump is no stranger to saying something quite inflammatory, perhaps, saying something certainly in strong terms. But at the same time, he will go to North Korea and meet Kim Jong-un after calling him Little Rocket Man. So I think that they're hoping and expecting Donald Trump will see things quite rationally and realistically when it comes to meeting these politicians who've criticized him in the past.
Jonathan Savage, anything else you'd like to share with us?
What would I like to share? Let me just tell you about a country which is definitely happy to see Donald Trump back in power. That is Israel. The leader of Israel, the prime minister, has talked of a huge victory and a true friendship. My colleagues there have gone to speak to people on the ground about Donald Trump's win. They say they were hard-pressed to find a Jewish Israeli who wasn't elated.
Jonathan Savage, we're always elated to hang with you. And remember,
feeling is mutual.
Remember, you heard it here first. One day, Dominic will be world champion.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh. I don't think any day soon, but let's wait and see.
All right. Take care. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
All right. Let's go to R&R. By the way, we are taking your calls. This is not a podcast, although we do have one at 580-5436. 580-KIDO, we are celebrating, and Joe Biden will come up today and say he's been a bad Joe Biden, and he's going to give himself the boot. Hello, sir.
Kay Millie, you never cease to surprise me, amaze me on how connected you are about the world. I have sampled some of the other real estate between here and eastern Idaho, and I will always come back to Kay Millie. You have got a connection, and people love you all over the world. And I just want to talk about DeSantis and Cruz. It's time to think about the election. I knew this one was in the bag, and I have the utmost respect for Trump. He is seasoned. I want to use that word. I think his philandering is over with, and I think his mouth is not such a detriment to him anymore, and his heart is pure. Maybe the concept of repentance really has touched him. That bullet that was by his head was a changing life event, I think, for him. So I'm wearing my Trump hat today to go play pool, and there are things amiss in the mayoral office in Emmett, and you are sorely needed. And there are many places in town, including Kate's, Kates, the best breakfast in Gem County. And she's an entrepreneur, and we could sit down with the mortician and the governor and Donnie Wonder, the best sheriff in the valley. So there's a lot of people that love you over here. You have a nucleus of love in Gem County.
Well, we do love Gem County, and we do love you, R&R. Anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, I got a brand new hat at the October festival, Harvest Festival.
Right.
And it is Bigfoot Patrol, Bigfoot search and search team. I did get to see Yeti when I was 8 years old on Mount Adams in Klickitat County, Washington. And I think you are a good candidate for a Bigfoot a Bigfoot sojourn. I'm waiting to meet your dad and mom, and I would be honored to set a table anytime you want to come to Gem County. I'll buy your food. I hear you're a pretty heavy hitter when it comes to
yes,
foraging.
Look, they call me I'm the founding member of the Clean Plate Club.
Ditto.
Well,
I
love you. Your physique is a lot better than mine, R&R. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Let's go to Pete in Mountain Home. Gee, wonder what Pete wants to talk about on KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, Kevin, I just wanted to have a wee gloat over Liberal Steve. And didn't he predict that Joe Biden would win?
Joe Biden.
And didn't he predict that camel hair would win?
Joe Biden, yep.
Yeah. Well, anyway, if you don't mind, I have a little song here that I'd like to play for him. I don't know if you recognize this.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
And that's for Liberal Steve.
Well, I know he's listening, so thank you for that, Pete. Your breakdown of how we won.
Yeah, that's a Johnny Nash song. I can see clearly now. Mm-hmm. And Liberal Steve, if I may say this, I love the smell of Schadenfreude in the morning.
Thank you, Pete in Mountain Home. Paulie in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Top of the morning to you. So how does it feel being a Trump supporter now as opposed to a year and a half ago when he was getting lawfare into every courtroom in New York City?
Boy, it's like that song by Toby Keith. How do you like me now?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. You know, great things can come to pass with the help that he's going to have and also his direction. I think that this country can rebound, and I also think that in the course of the rebounding, there has to be a renaissance of patriotism. No offense to Patriot Ray, I think he's got a lot of it. But if you don't have these things, you're not going to go anywhere. And we do have the forces of evil against us still. They're evil. And maybe not the stop of leads, but they're his anti-helpers. And, you know, I'd like to think that if I was a Pollyannic individual, which a lot of people call me, that we would have a rosy drift right down the garden path with roses on each side with no thorns on them. That's not realistic thinking. And, you know, Trump did say a couple of days before the ballots were counted on Tuesday that he was going to call Mexico and tell them to put a halt of everybody coming over. I don't know if he's done that. I haven't heard any report on the southern border now for at least 2 weeks. Except they had to mind 430,000 migrants coming up in one giant party.
All we have to say is we'll be seeing you. Adios, amigos.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't stop in Mexico, what are we going to do with them here? There is no room in the inn.
Well, and now you already have the liberals, Paulie, going, well, it's going to cost $88 billion. Yes, we will pay $88 billion to give them the boot. The criminals, the thugs, the malcontents, the people that have come into this country illegally, that have destroyed this country, they have to go.
Oh, I agree. But it's the coordination part is going to be, oh, man, I can hardly even wrap my head around part of that, let alone most of it. I mean, the logistics alone. You know, are you going to have enough freight trains that are going to be makeshift, turned into passenger trains? I don't think so. So, you know, where do you go? I give it some thought myself. They have to have some kind of food and some kind of water on their trip back down to South America. And, man, the logistics on that's going to be pretty heavy duty.
No, I would agree.
And it's not going to be ICE. ICE has their hands full already with the 12 million illegal before the 12 or 20 million came over the last 3 years or 3.5 years. So it's not just that. It's like close to 40 million illegals are in the country that either need to get some green cards and some kind of a job here without taking the black jobs, as Trump called them. That was bothering me the whole time they were coming over. I'm going, what the heck can these black people that are in the inner city that want to get out of the inner city and get a job somewhere?
Well, you know, and it's funny, they play the race game all the time because they always say, you know, the black jobs. Well, there's a thing called the black belt. And, you know, that's all I'm saying. You know, in places in North Carolina, in Alabama, it's everywhere.
Right. Now, is that to be able to get more money from the government and put into the libs' hands to give it to the dole to keep them fat, dumb, and happy, as it were?
Yeah.
I just, it makes me so sick when I think about the only thing that Kamala Harris could do for the black men that didn't want to vote for her was turn them into pot farmers and pot sellers and pot smokers. You're turning all these people into drug addicts. Give them something else to do. Give them a hoe, give them a rake, and give them a shovel, and get them out in the field somewhere for a farmer or something. You know, there has to be some kind of answer that we're overlooking that is so simple that we can't think about it. It's just that simple. Most things are they're taken care of that way. And I don't know, it just boggles my mind. It has all my life. And of course, I haven't seen the inner city other than the one up in Oakland and the different sections of San Francisco when I was a kid. And, you know, it breaks my heart to see the people that are stuck in those sarcophagi, you know, 20 stories or whatever they are. And it just seems like it's degradation. How do you get them out of there?
Well, we will see. God bless, Paulie. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's talk about our friends at Hearing Connection. Look, we're getting ready for the holidays. Give yourself not a treat, but something that you need, and that's to take a look at your hearing. Are you or someone you know struggling with hearing loss? Let's face it. It's humbling sometimes. We all struggle with hearing loss as we get older. Don't struggle with hearing loss any longer. Here's a message from our friends at Hearing Connection. Again, we thank them for sticking with this program for many, many years. We want to make sure we acknowledge the people that have been with us and welcome our new partners. Hearing Connection says don't wait any longer to get the help you need. If left untreated, it can lead to hearing loss, can lead to social isolation and depression, and even lead to an increased risk of developing dementia. Hearing Connection now is offering a 30-day risk-free trial of the latest and greatest hearing aids. It's called the Signia AX. That's the Signia AX. Friends, don't let hearing loss hold you back any longer. Even if your friends are liberal, even liberals deserve to be able to hear. Call now. Call now for a free hearing evaluation and a risk-free trial of the new Signia AX at Hearing Connection, 208-488-3255 today, and start enjoying life to the fullest again. That's Hearing Connection, 208-488-3255. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, a brave new world when we're talking about Trump's America. This time he's got it.
The best campaign she could get. She was able to hide for 6 weeks from interviews. There was a completely scripted campaign. She had a compliant media that helped project exactly what she wanted. It wasn't the messenger. It was the product. Democratic governance lost. The challenge for Republicans is to make sure that our governance can win next time.
Yeah, she played not to win. She played not to lose. Whether or not we like the Idaho Democrats or not, the bottom line is they are a unique breed. And having watched the coverage, by the way, you're welcome to join us. You are welcome to join us at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. They are a unique breed, so it's amazing the turnover that we've had in local media. And I think the reason why that's important is when you have new people coming in, they're not here for the long haul. They're here to get their tape, as they call it, move on to a bigger market that pays more and the like. But it's so funny seeing the little baby journalists try to interview people. And really it's, Idaho is very informal. And, God bless the folks at Channel 6. They kept cutting off the ABC national coverage to go to commercials. And you can tell they don't do a lot of live stuff because they had some issues. But they tried. Channel 2 tried. Channel 7 tried. But it was interesting because they don't have the relationships. And I was thinking about 2018, and I know that was 6 years ago, but when we had that great governor's race and, you had Dee Sarton and Mark Johnson, and you had this big stage with Channel 7, and then you had Don Nelson, who did a great job covering for Channel 6, continues on. Nellie's the only one left, really. And, to what it is today, where you have like a cub reporter interviewing Congressman Fulcher. And we were there, and, Congressman Labrador was running for governor. Tommy Alquist was running for governor. Lieutenant governor was running for governor, and how it's all changed. And it was just hitting me, just the turnover. And just like a local business, sure, you buy a product, but you buy the people. John Taffer, when he was talking about restaurants, you really don't go into a restaurant for the food, although if it's bad food, you won't go back, but you go there like how it makes you feel. And just watching that, I go, man, if I had money, I would buy a radio station. I'd buy a TV station because it's solely lacking the political coverage. And, you had this big event. And I'm going to say this. The guy who saved Idaho from Prop 1 is Mike Moyle. Now, I can say that because I'm not here to kiss the ring of anybody else. The Idaho Republican Party, they did a good job, but it was Mike Moyle that actually spent money. I don't think Mike has gotten enough credit for that. And I saw Mike walking around. I don't think anybody interviewed Mike. But it was Mike Moyle that got the folks together for the PAC to put himself on television to do the counter narrative to that. We didn't have anybody else come up with any money to do that. Grassroots is great. It's wonderful. But if grassroots campaign were so effective, we wouldn't need all the outside money that continues to flow into the state. To the people with Prop 1, there we had, the guy on Channel 7 interviewing the guy from Reclaim Idaho, and he's hurt. He's wounded. Yeah, if I had spent millions of dollars to try to convince Idahoans that, we're going to throw out the voting thing, I'd be depressed too. I'd be constipated as well. Maybe that's a little bit too much information. I do want to make an announcement on this program. It's nothing very big, but it will shock you. And look, this is a format that's very intimate. It's audio-based in a visual world. That's why we call it talk radio. But many people have moved to the Treasure Valley in the last 4 years, and you've seen me looking like a beatnik, looking like Jerry Garcia. In fact, Glenn and Nampa on Twitter called me COVID Kevin, and walking around like I'm looking for a kickball tournament, which is what Mrs. Miller described me as. And I decided to make a change because self-deprecation is the way to go. So I have gone back to pre-COVID Kevin, and I'm saying that because of the long national Joe Biden, Kamala Harris nightmare is finally over.
No, don't let him go. Let him.
I have gone back to clean-cut Kevin Miller, and it's wonderful that the receding hairline is out, and you're looking at that going, man, you're the new Lester Holt. Yes, I am. I am the Idaho version of Lester Holt, and there's a lot of people that can sport a receding hairline. I hope to be able to sport a receding hairline as much as Lester Holt does. But again, not to be too full of hubris, but if you get a chance, you can see it on @KevinMillerShow on Twitter. You can see my announcement, and I want to thank the young lady by the name of Tatum that it took her about 2 hours to bring me back to humanity. And again, I don't have a problem with people with long hair. Bro, if you have the follicles, roll with it. Too many times in our society today, Bo, you need to pay attention on this one. Too many times in our society today, we stigmatize people with long hair. They've got the follicles. I saw a guy, at that store at the mall, Lululemon, Lulu Guy Pan, whatever it is. And that guy had some major follicles. And I'm going, that guy's maybe 25, 35. He's going to have follicles forever. I'm like, I have follicle envy. But at least I'm out. I'm out with that. Beacon Plumbing brings you Fox News. We love our friends at Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking. Call Beacon today. BeaconPlumbing.net. Do not mess around with a stuffed toilet. Do not mess around with a stuffed and clogged sink or anything else. It's not going to get any better. Let me tell you how it's going to get better by calling our friends at Beacon Plumbing. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people in Idaho, about Idaho. They're not going to sit back and, have some call center in Minnesota take your calls. They take them here, and they'll even answer their phones on Christmas, bro. Love Beacon Plumbing. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, your traffic on the freeway coming out of Canyon County into Ada County, we're looking good right now. Heavy traffic, Karcher on down to the freeway area. Once you get to the county line, coming eastbound on 84, looking good. Construction on Middleton Road, 2026 to Linden. You'll have orange barrels and detours up in place. Get paid to bank when you open a new checking account at Horizon Credit Union. Put some extra cash in your pocket. Visit hzcu.org/get paid to find out how. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Kamala's farewell speech. She conceded, gave us the lecture that this is how we do it. Then she said she's going to continue to fight. Look, it's over for her. It is over for her. She is not going to be able to go anywhere and to get a job. Sure, she'll make money on speeches. She'll write a book. But her time in the public spotlight is over. And we would like to dedicate this to her. An old song from the 80s now. You got to love this hit. By a group named Scandal, when men proudly wore pink, and nobody really thought of it as a big deal. You could wear pink, you could have big hair, and you had lyrics that you could actually understand. Goodbye, Joe. Bye-bye. Wow. Goodbye, Joe. Goodbye, Pelosi. All right, we could go on and relive the old days or live the new days, but there we have it. Goodbye to you. And let's go back to Brad Todd, no relation to Chuck Todd, who broke down what happened. Remember, Kamala didn't do interviews. Kamala couldn't relate. Kamala couldn't figure out a message. She tried to be Barack Obama. Remember?
Thanks, Obama.
There's only one Barack Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
Merci beaucoup.
The best campaign she could get. She was able to hide for 6 weeks from interviews. There was a completely scripted campaign. She had a compliant media that helped project exactly what she wanted. It wasn't the messenger. It was the product. Democratic governance lost. The challenge for Republicans is to make sure that our governance can win next time.
You're right. And despite being propped up by the liberal media, despite being propped up by Obama and everything else, she lost. I think I would have brought in Joe. I would have brought in Joe off the bench and sent him to all the places where people didn't like her, including apparently she was supposed to rock senior citizens, senior ladies. Didn't happen. By the way, great job with the fake news, Des Moines Register, for that fake poll. I think Trump won Iowa by 12 or 14? Mike in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Mike.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Hey, first off, I want to thank you for being able to find your show. I came over from the Rhino and the Lib. Your show is about education. Thank you very much for being here. So I've got a question.
Hold on. I love that, though. The Rhino and the Lib. That's a very good name for them, yes. The Rhino and the Lib.
Well,
yes.
they're about entertainment, and that's all fine. Dress it up how you want. But this show isn't always about prettiness. It's all about the truth, and I thank you for that, Kevin Miller. Thank you. So my question is, I'm really confused because Liberal Steve called in. I'll tell you this story real quick. When I was in Reno about 4 years ago, and Joe Biden was on Fox, my roommate got mad at me because I turned Joe off, and he said, we need to support our president. And I told him, I do not support Biden. I will not. And I will have to say that at that time, I was not believing that Biden was Hitler. He was not, but I wasn't about to support him. But I can't count how many times Liberal Steve has called in and he's compared him to Hitler. He's a fascist. the J6 insurrection. But then yesterday he called in and he floored me when he said that he was going to support Trump. Now, I commend him for that. I do. But why on earth would you support him? Is he Hitler or is he not Hitler? I would like Liberal Steve to call back in and clarify, why would you support Hitler if he truly is Hitler?
Mike, I appreciate that. I'm sure he's listening. Thank you for the call and thank you for the compliment. We'll do our very best to live up to that.
I love you, buddy. Thank you.
Love you. By the way, I do want to remind everybody, Miller's Mission, coming up November 18th through the 23rd. We are going to be, once again, at the Walmart, Garrity and Franklin. It's a live show. We'll be there from 5:30, 5 in the morning till 6 at night. I do have to take a walk so I don't die. What are you doing? You're taking a walk for exercise? No, I have to take my daily walk. But besides my daily walk, I will be there. So we would love to see you. We would love to allow us to encourage you to help the Boise Rescue Mission. We need a lot of turkeys. Turkeys are expensive. But if you're looking to celebrate, if you're looking to make a difference, you're going to hear from folks with the Boise Rescue Mission, from the Boise Rescue Mission. It's a very unusual show. It's a show we've been doing for 12 or 13 years. And we want to thank Walmart for allowing us to be there, the Boise Rescue Mission for allowing us to partner with them. And it's going to be a wonderful event. We hope that you can join us.
I mean, this Never Trump whole complex that grew over the last several years, nothing has ever failed as hard in politics as this. The Lincoln Project, all these people that built millions upon millions upon millions of dollars from Democratic donors, and all the eggs that was put in this basket. The split was amazing. Trump got like 94% of Republicans. I don't think they accomplished anything except probably build a bunch of beach houses. That's about what they did. Republicans being lectured to, condescended to, browbeaten by all these folks over the last... I mean, look, at some juncture, it's okay if we have different opinions about the election. You don't have to beat people to death over it, and the more you do that, the more it drives people away. Total failure.
So I think I think it's important to...
No, we don't think what you have to say is important. Scott Jennings, who can get any job that he wants now in conservative media, he needs to stay as a commentator. Once all of a sudden you become a host, then you have to have other people's opinions. Scott Jennings, he and Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, the big winners of this election cycle. You know, and we talk about things, just some analysis. By the way, you can join us now, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And people talked about, you know, the difference between 2024 and 2020. Let me say this, that I've been very blessed before I came to the state of Idaho. Sometimes I didn't see it as a blessing, but to be a military brat, I always admired people that got to stay in their towns or their lives and have lifelong friends. And if you're a military brat, military family, that doesn't really work out for you. It does give you some incredible life skills to be able to change and move on, and that helped me in my radio career. But I lived in those states. I lived in Georgia. I lived in North Carolina. I lived in Pennsylvania, and we'll get Jim Byrne on here and Kelly Pigeon, but I didn't want to turn it into the Pennsylvania show. But I know those people. And for Joe Biden to win in 2020, you had to have, you know, the mail-in ballots. You had to have the drop-off ballots. You had to have Donald Trump at war with the Republican Party in the state of Georgia. And that's one thing that we're going to have to figure out here in Idaho. You have the Dorothy Moon Republican Party, and then you have the other Republican Party. Maybe they can get along. Maybe they can't. But we see what happens when we have in Georgia where the Donald Trump Republican Party and the Governor Kemp Republican Party are at war. It allowed not one but two liberal Democrats in, which destroyed us in the Senate. And by the way, Donald Trump came back from that. That was Donald Trump's call to go after Governor Kemp. In fact, former Senator Perdue, who lost, was recruited by Donald Trump to go after Governor Kemp. Governor Kemp blanketed him. Donald Trump, being the shrewd politician that he is, being the disruptor, the one-of-a-kind guy, made peace with Brian Kemp. Georgia was never close after that. When the Republican Party is united, It is unbeatable. It is unbeatable. Even when we've had flawed candidates, John McCain, Mitt Romney, we came very close. Donald Trump has rewritten the entire Republican Party. So again, you go to North Carolina. That's the old place of Jesse Helms. If you don't know who Jesse Helms was, Google him. One of the honors of my career was being able to, I believe I was an MC at an event that honored Jesse Helms. Those Republicans, they were not going to take it that the Democrats were going to come in, and North Carolina did not want to be responsible for that. You go to Pennsylvania. You go to Wisconsin. You go to Michigan. Those people are not woke. You're not going to have someone who is transitioning openly in those places. And by the way, let's be clear. There is no war on transgendered Americans. There is a giant disagreement between the woke people that want to introduce men playing women's sports and what we have today, and the left trying to censor us and criticize us and run us out and cancel us for saying, I'm sorry, if you're born a male, then you can't play women's sports. You can play men's sports, but it's not fair to women. People in those states, remember, people were very critical of Donald Trump. Those transitional, transsexual ads fueled Trump in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania. The blue wall is now red. And it was the brilliance of Trump. What they did is they figured out Kamala, and AOC and all the woke people. That's not America. And then targeting the podcasting people. You know, hopefully we'll be able to get our friend Theo Wold on, but probably before he goes back to the White House, and to tell us this young male cohort that has seen their lives been, pardon my French, hosed over. We won't use the S word because we have children listening to this program. They've seen their opportunities go away and been called toxic and masculinity. America was built on masculine men. And Donald Trump reached into that. Remember, deplorables, cling to their guns, fascist garbage. Are you kidding me? People had enough, and Donald Trump figured that out. That's the story of this election. Our victory coverage continues. Sean Hannity today at 1 after Clay and Buck, Kevin Miller.
KIDO Talk Radio. Your morning cup of Sean. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Here's the next thing I want to say to all of you. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you. The stated policies of Kamala Harris, and I have nothing against her personally, and she has conceded this race. I want to thank all of you for taking the blessings of liberty, the blessing of this great constitutional republic and our constitutional right to vote, and taking the time to be educated and casting a vote to stop what is the single most radical, extreme, stated agenda of any presidential candidate I can think of in American history. It would have been a disaster, a predictable disaster.
The conservative underground meets later today on the Sean Hannity Show.
What credit card is in your wallet, and do you know what causes they may support? I sat down recently with Rob Collins, CEO of the values-based Coin credit card. You spell Coin C-O-I-G-N. Now, Coin welcomes smart consumers with shared values, not a corporation supporting extreme left-wing agendas. And the Visa-backed Coin credit card is accepted everywhere they accept Visa. There's no annual fee. You're going to be proud to pull it out of your wallet or your purse. You can even use it from your mobile phone. It's that simple. Now, Coin gives back a percentage of every purchase on the Coin card to nonprofits that share and support your values. As a card member, you get to vote on which charity will get the money. And Coin has 100% U.S.-based customer service. Here's the bottom line. Get woke out of your wallet and earn cash back on every purchase. Go to Coin, COIGN.com. Apply today. That's Coin, COIGN.com, and select Hannity in the drop-down menu. Check out Coin.com today. Hey.
Appreciate that, Sean. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Back to what Brad Todd said.
The best campaign she could get. She was able to hide for 6 weeks from interviews. There was a completely scripted campaign. She had a compliant media that helped project exactly what she wanted. It wasn't the messenger. It was the product. Democratic governance lost. The challenge for Republicans is to make sure that our governance can win next time.
And there we have it. Victory. And it's funny, the liberals have had such a great run, they don't know what to do with themselves. It's kind of like if your team is Alabama, you've had such a great run, but the run is coming to an end in college football. There's a new number one, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Ohio State, whether it's Oregon. By the way, Kamala Harris, her concession speech, let's take a listen to Hillary Clinton's.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for.
This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for.
Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition.
Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country.
Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background.
We've spent a year and a half bringing together millions of people from every corner of our country to say with one voice.
Boy, sounds very original, doesn't it? State of the country, but the state of the Republican Party. We'll get his thoughts on that. The Attorney General, Raul Labrador, will join us. Brand expert Peter Thiel and Dave Petzo will join us. We got a lot going on, but all those contributors are great, but we can't wait to hear from you and your thoughts on what is next on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Dave Burnett in the KIDO Traffic Center. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, traffic on the freeway heavy and steady right now around the Meridian Road area. Really running slow there on that merge as you try to get on the freeway. Inbound on the connector looking good this morning. Count on Blue Cross of Idaho for your health insurance, a company that has long-term experience in health insurance, so you don't have to worry. Visit bcidaho.com/individual and choose a plan today. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave Burnett. Coming up again, we'll have more of the analysis. And how about that? Did you like that? I mean, really, Kamala Harris delivering the Hillary Clinton 2016 concession speech. And how about a congratulations? How about I was wrong, you were right? Oh, the crazy liberals. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call Beacon today. They bring you Fox News on your home for Fox News, KIDO Talk Radio. 580 KIDO. Don't forget the free KIDO Talk Radio app. Appreciate that. More analysis coming down with this program. Dave Petzel will join us for a specially Thursday edition. Stock market going through the roof. That's great if you're in the stock market. If not, you're like the rest of us waiting for the crash. That having been said, also don't forget the free KIDO Talk Radio app. Lots of great articles and more people moving to Idaho. Find out why. Our latest story on our website. Another issue that we want to talk about, and we can't say this enough, we need to really promote it because this year the challenge is amazing. As always, partnering with our friends at the Boise Rescue Mission. They will be out and about. I believe they're going to be out and about this week with our friends at KTSY Radio at the Albertsons getting turkeys. We encourage you to give those turkeys there or to stop by and see us November 18th through the 23rd, where we will ask you to give a turkey, don't be a turkey, benefiting the Boise Rescue Mission. And thanks to so many people that are being a part of it. Our new friends, Window World Boise, they're a proud sponsor of Miller's Mission. So if you're still thinking about getting your windows taken care of, Window World Boise, affordable, dependable, great service. The guys come out, Shane and Ryan do an incredible job, or the guy that just does it all by himself. I don't know how one guy just does windows by himself, but he does. Very thorough, very happy with our windows, and you will be too, with our partners at Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. Another thing that no one in the local media will pick up on, and I have to remind you this because there's a lot of people that, say that they're conservative, and God bless them. I hope they are. Not everybody, will read Politico or Axios or watch, YouTubes of congressional debates, and that's great. There's room for everybody. But there's something that needs to be acknowledged, and there's something that needs to be said publicly. And I caught this the other night as I was watching again the baby reporters trying to do their very best to cover politics. And it's, I suppose, one thing that I wish our area had more of, good political coverage. And that's not like the person who 1 minute they're doing gardening tips and then they go to the State House. Like, Channel 6 used to have Mike Sharp, who works at Boise State. And Mike Sharp, he loved politics, although he loved sports as well. He did a good job. And then remember, we had Dan Popke, who was such a good liberal reporter that the conservatives co-opted him. He ended up ending his career working for Raul Labrador. But there's no really good political coverage. And I'm looking at, nobody covered the Speaker of the House and his PAC, Idaho Rising, funding the opposition to Prop 1. You know, we had Howard on from Payette yesterday, and he was talking about Dorothy Moon. But the Republican Party didn't have the money to do this. Let me repeat this again. The Republican Party did not have the money to put up TV ads. They had the grassroots people, and great. It's wonderful that you can have a legislator urging you to, on Twitter, not to vote for Prop 1. But my contention is, and I haven't talked to the Speaker of the House. I see him occasionally, always very nice. His family's always very nice to our program. We can't say that about everybody within the Republican Party, but we can say that about the Speaker. And when you had the hard right people, and I even hate to say that, hard right people, because I consider myself hard right, wanting to take out the Speaker of the House, we defended him. And I was thinking to myself, and again, maybe because I'm a Generation Xer, maybe because I'm enthralled with the Stark family from Game of Thrones, although it didn't end well for them, the North never forgets. And I'm looking at Mike Moyle, who put everything aside, all the people that wanted to throw him out because he didn't survive the Republican Party purity test. And I'm sure Mike put some of his own money in. Mike probably went out and, got the money together to put those ads on television. And with all due respect to the governor didn't fund anything either. Maybe he did. Maybe the governor funded Idaho Rising. Maybe maybe Big Frank did. I don't know. But Mike Moyle was the face of that. It wasn't Dorothy Moon. And Mike Moyle deserves props. We're not taking anything away from Dorothy Moon and her victory lap. However, without Mike Moyle, without that Idaho Rising PAC, maybe we would have seen Prop 1. Maybe we would have seen that pass. So I thank Mike Moyle, and I want to echo what Sean Hannity said 20 minutes ago. Thank you for giving a rip and caring and making a difference, because you did. Our old Flair friend, our old Flair Blair in Boise. Good morning here on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin, how are you this morning?
I'm looking forward to today where we can do some analysis and really figure out what the heck happened. Good morning.
Well, aren't you terrified about the fascist takeover of America? I mean, as soon as January rolls in, all those 80,000 IRS agents under Trump are going to start terrorizing the countryside. I mean, aren't you terrified of that?
I've lived in terror for many, many years. It's all the same to me.
I'm totally being tongue-in-cheek, but
I'm with you.
I just find it amazing because, we had two candidates running for president of the United States. One was selected by a cabal of elitists, and one actually had to go through the primary process and earn a shot at running for president. And yet, which one was the fascist? Let's see. If we go back in history to Germany in the 1929s, 1930s, what happened there? Oh, right. You had a small cabal of industrialists and rich people who elevated one person to a position of political power that they then abused to take over the nation. Wow. It's amazing, isn't it? and yet they accuse Donald Trump of being the fascist. if Democrats weren't around for comedy support, I don't know where I would get my laughs every morning, you know?
I would agree with you. What do you make of the future of the Democratic Party, Blair?
Well, I think it's very interesting, and this was pointed out by a couple of other shows I was listening to yesterday after yours, both the Obamas and the Clintons threw in behind Kamala Harris, and now where does this make them look, where does this put them? It puts them in no man's land because they supported a dud candidate, a worse than a dud candidate, right? I mean, this defeat, you can argue, was worse than Hillary Clinton's losing to Donald Trump. You can make that argument, and I think it holds up very well. This was a worse candidate. I mean, at least Hillary Clinton, well, no, she didn't get. She got put in by the super delegates in her party too, right? So, but
she did.
Let
me hit you with this, Blair. Sorry to interrupt. Think about this.
No, go ahead.
If you're Bernie Sanders, what are you thinking?
Well, didn't Bernie Sanders come out with a note about the Democratic Party just yesterday, where he was just excoriated them for being, idiots?
But I mean, they chose Hillary. They hosed him. They chose Biden. Now, I don't know if America would have voted for Bernie, but you talk about a guy who could have rivaled the conservative enthusiasm with the the rival Donald Trump's conservative enthusiasm. That would have been Bernie. So we would have had a capitalist versus a socialist.
Well, I think what was obvious to everybody was that Bernie was what the Democratic Party actually represents, and the Democrats don't want people to know that. I mean, why do you think Kamala wouldn't tell anybody about her policies the entire campaign trail? Because the Democrats don't want you to know what they think. They don't want you to know because you would be terrified and you would vote them out of office. If you knew that they wanted to collapse the economy, if you knew that they wanted to control your children, if you knew that they wanted to, everything else on their party platform, if people actually knew what they were doing, they would run screaming in terror. And I think that's the problem with the Democrat Party is they've gone so far left that now John Fetterman looks like a moderate. And that I think that the Democratic Party really has to reinvent itself. But here's another gotcha for you. I think the Republican Party is also at an inflection moment where it has to decide, okay, are you guys going to stay the war hawk party, the spendthrift party, the ones where you're willing to just blow trillions of dollars? Or are you guys going to come back to where the voters want you with a balanced budget and with sane, sensible policies? So I think both parties actually have some real thinking to do.
You're right. Blair, thank you for the call. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Remember our friends at Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com.
I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing. America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service.
What the heck is she saying? Let's go to the phones. Lee Joe with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Lee Joe.
Good morning, sir. So articulate, so brilliant. We love everything she says. That was amazing.
Well, it's the light of the candles, of the whatever.
It was inspirational, and I felt very glad that Donald Trump got elected.
Hey, by the way, whatever happened to that judge? I voted no against her, by the way.
The answer is that all of the judges in our county have been given a C grade. Every one of them got between 22 and 25% negative vote. Hers was slightly higher.
Well, I want to let you know I voted against all the judges, thanks to you. I did see her, but I go. Most of us really never know who these people are, but I want to tell you, your comments made a difference.
I think people are starting to see the light. Other than my comments, when people go into the courthouse and get treated like they get treated and realize that it's an us versus them thing going on there, in civil or in criminal proceedings, these judges are not what you would choose to represent a republic as the justice system. So getting a C, between 75% and 79% as part of your approval grade by the people is actually a show of how many constitutionalists are actually in this county now. We're getting much stronger. The Doug Traubel vote, you got 28 to. It was like 1 o'clock when I checked last, but it was like 28% of the vote, and that's way more than there is than there are Democrats in the House or the legislature. The thing with his voting base is that assume that all the Democrats voted for Clifford. That would be like 45% of Ada County. Then you take the rest and you split that, and it was a dead heat between the Rhinocracy and Doug Traubel in that sheriff's race. So
you can call them names and all that, but the bottom line is you had 2 Ada County commissioners vote to go with the sheriff. And then you've had voters that have chosen to go with somebody else. Look, I love Doug. Doug's a great guy. Doug has been with me before you. But, I mean, to sit there and call names, I don't know really if that helps. Tell me where I'm wrong.
I don't care if
but Doug did run as a Republican. He ran as a constitutionalist. And when you run as a constitutionalist, you're not going to get the Republican Party behind you.
I agree. But I mean, I thought that vote was very telling. There is strength growing in actual constitutionalism in the Valley.
Do you think that hurts really the Republican Party, because that's Dorothy Moon's base, is the constitutional people?
I don't think it hurts the Republican Party. I think it's kind of what Dorothy Moon's doing. She's kind of bringing.
Yeah, but if the Doug Traubels and all that are outside the Republican Party, doesn't that erode her base a little? And I do agree she has made the Republican Party more in her image.
Well, I agree with that, but this idea that it's hurting the Republican Party to espouse Republican values, that's kind of, the big tent thing, that's the liberals.
Well, Republican values, yeah. I mean, look, I think it's stupid that you will have someone you agree with 95%, but you have these ridiculous purity tests. And let me put it to you this way, and I love you, Lee Joseph, please don't take this the wrong way. Marijuana. You want to talk about an issue that divides the Republican Party? Marijuana. Because you have a lot of those people that are all about the legal weed. And you have all of us that are not about the weed.
I think you're talking more of the libertarians that have come in, and there's a lot of constitutionalists that aren't the pro-pot crowd, is what I'd say.
There's a lot of elected Republicans that are pro-pot. And the way I look at it, they should pull at Bernie Sanders and go, I love the weed. Let's out them all.
Yeah, I know there is.
I certainly don't have a problem saying I'm anti-weed.
I'm anti-weed too, for recreational purposes especially. And that's all you see on these agendas is we're going to say medical marijuana, but the actual truth is they want it legalized for everything and they want no barriers. But I think when it comes down to it in the end, the constitutionalists do vote for Republicans when they have to rather than Democrats. So if it's important, they swing into they'll vote for a rhino. There'll be some, there's Brad's little voters in the governor's race that hold their nose and vote for the Republican, and that would be most of the constitutionalists.
Well, why would you not vote for the Republican? Have you seen the Have you seen the liberals?
Joe Biden.
I have.
By the way, if the Republican Party were smart, this is who their target would be.
Joe Biden
would be to use a mass effort to liberate Boise from the liberal.
Looking at the voting districts and the voting trends, which is like in District 16 here, there's no way to unroot her. There's just too many well-educated BSU graduates who live in downtown Boise for us to actually be able to show up and have a Republican show in the city of Boise anymore.
I think a Brad Little Republican would do well. Probably not a Dorothy Moon Republican. Fascinating. Hold on. Fascinating, though, and you'll only hear this with you and me, that will break that down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and I think that would be the case, and that would be who I would propose as a candidate is, if we got to vote for a rhino, let's at least get a Democrat out.
You're not, so, and maybe the Republican Party needs to ban that term.
Well, good for, yeah, exactly. Censorship in the Republican Party.
No, I mean, but it's like calling your own team a name. Let's focus on the liberals.
I agree. Let's focus on the liberals.
I mean, but all you've done is attack the Republicans. Lee Joe, thank you for the call. And look, I'm not being Pollyanna, but on the other hand, we live in a really good state. And yes, you go, wow, Kevin Miller, what do you think about that guy, Senator Guthrie, who wants to, he and Congressman Simpson, they've been trying to get the illegals legalized. He and Congressman Simpson trying to get the illegals driver's licenses, and that's been shut down thanks to good conservative values. Now, do we call people names? I think we're so successful, and the conservative movement within the Republican Party is so successful, you don't need to do that anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. You can always correct me. We live to be corrected at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget our friends at Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. Check them out on Chinden. Great veteran-owned company. Great crew.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, traffic now on the freeways. You're coming out of Canyon County into Ada County. Broken down vehicle just beyond Franklin. That's going to be slowing traffic down eastbound coming out of Canyon County. Don't forget construction downtown Boise. State Street, really a mess at 18th and then again down toward the Capitol building there. Make sure your vehicle is ready for winter with a free vehicle inspection from Quality Alignment and Mechanical. A $145 value. Quality Alignment and Mechanical. A full-service auto shop in Nampa. Online at qualityam.com. That's traffic now on KIDO.
Thank you very much. Don't forget, we are continuing to cover the election. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Is it the end of the Democratic Party as we know it?
Well, Mayor, I mean, it is, again, the scope and scale of this victory is sweeping. And we can focus, by the way, we can focus on Donald Trump if we would like. But this goes so far beyond Donald Trump. Make no mistake, his victory, again, historic. But you look at Republicans across the nation. You look at how handily they're winning states. As Willie said, you look at Illinois, a 4-point margin. Illinois, a 5-point margin in New Jersey. This is a Democratic Party that has been just wiped out this morning.
Yeah, Republicans steamrolled. They have captured the Senate. The House still up for grabs, but those close.
And they have been wiped out. By the way, I do want to remind you that Arizona apparently has been called. The networks have not given it to Donald Trump yet. Arizona and Nevada still out there, but that's going to be 306. But what we're getting on social media, Arizona has been called for Donald Trump. Of course, they continue to want to say it's 295 to 226. It's going to be, 312? Al in Ontario, please hang on. I know you want to respond to Lee Joe. It's great to have Al back. Beacon Plumbing brings you Fox News on your home for Beacon Plumbing, KIDO Talk Radio.
And the daddy goes, shut up and eat your grasshopper.
Good morning, Al.
Good morning. Yes,
I think now one of the things that we have to look at when we're trying to understand the whole rhino situation and how the rhinos are different from the so-called constitutionalists is that we're in a different situation in our nation today, Kevin, insofar as, like Adam Smith said a long time, I believe it was Adam Smith who said there's a lot of ruin in a nation. Okay, Kevin, I think we're at the end of our ruin. Okay, I think the sword of Damocles is hanging over the collective neck of our nation. And I think we're so close to a serious problem in this nation vis-a-vis the economic, situation and the military situation. So, we can't have, look at having the rhinos. Okay. In the old days, that was okay. We could have them. Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, we've got to change, Kevin. Okay. We've got to change. It's kind of like right now, if you look at the Ukraine war, okay, what is going on? Okay. You have the Ukrainians who are fighting with FPV drones. Okay, these first-person view drones, they've changed. Okay, they can't use America's GPS systems because the Russians are jamming and scrambling the GPS signals. Okay, so when you are in a situation that is dire, what you must do is look at it without rose-colored sunglasses. Educate yourself, and this is the problem. We don't have it. We don't have the education. Many of these rhinos, many of these leaders don't have the education to understand what 125% debt to GDP really means. They don't understand this. They don't understand it. And, it sounds really nice. Let's just balance the budget. And we'll just balance the budget, and then everything will be nice. And we'll wake up, and it'll be a sunny day because we'll do like our checkbook and balance the budget. No, that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. You've got to look at it not from economics, but from bubble-nomics. Bubble-nomics. Okay, it's called the greater fool theory. The greater to the greatest fool theory. You blow bubbles, and that's what we've done in this country. We've blown these bubbles of debt. Money is debt. And we've created this stuff ad infinitum. And now we've built this structure of debt. We've built the empire of debt. And the empire of debt can't stand. It just can't. There's got to be a reckoning, okay? And that reckoning has to come in the form of understanding from our leadership. And if you don't have Republicans who understand what's going on, okay, the gravity of the situation we're confronting right now, then look, it's all over. And so that's why I think, in many regards, President Trump has had an edge because he talks about getting production back to the United States, getting our nation, getting a productive workforce, making stuff again, okay, bringing us back from having to create all of this debt because we don't create stuff. Okay, our GDP is fake. I hate to say it. But if you have 75% of consumption and that's your GDP, are you kidding me? That's not an economy. That's a joke. It's bubble-nomics. Okay, and these rhinos, crack a book, rhino, crack a book. Understand where we're at in this nation. Okay, and then look at our military forces. I mean, look, you have to have a strong economic base in order to have a strong military. I mean, we have to do massive.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Look, I go back to Pat Buchanan. I was with Pat Buchanan in 92. On the other hand, you can't tear apart the entire party. I get it. You can primary people. You can have competitive primaries, but you have to work within the system. Or do you?
Well, look, we have to work within the system, and that's where the Kevin Miller Show is right now. You're educating people, Kevin. We have to educate the populace, right? I mean, the people don't understand bubble-nomics. They don't understand that when you create 125 debt to GDP, everybody says, let's go back to Reagan. Reagan had 30 debt to GDP. Okay, just 30, not 125. Okay, this is a totally different world. Okay, so we have to educate the people so they understand that what we've really done is we've taken from the future and spent today. Okay, that's really what this is all about. We've taken from the future and spent today. And so we've done that for so long that there's got to be a reckoning. Okay, it's like we built this economic structure on a beach, right? On a sandy beach. And look, I mean, I hate to say it, but it can't stand. The economic structure has to be, taken down and reformed. And that taking it down and reforming it is going to mean one heck of a lot of pain, unfortunately. And once again, I hate to be the dour of the hour, but I mean, it's just the truth.
I agree with you. And let's go a little further. Our great friend Al from Ontario joining us, Kevin Mill in the morning. We're talking about the stock market blowing up. Well, what happens if all of a sudden this debt starts getting called in? I mean, it's a house of cards. And look, I want everybody to do well, but how in the world can you tell me the stock market is great, everything is wonderful, Al, as you have for years have warned us about the consequences of this debt?
Well, that's right, Kevin. Look at you have like a $3.5 trillion valuation for NVIDIA. Are you kidding me? I mean, just give me some tulips from 1620, right? Read the book, Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. Okay, look, Kevin, the whole thing of the greater fool theory, greater to the greatest fool theory, is the fact that you jack the price of stuff up that really doesn't have value. The NASDAQ, are you kidding me? The only reason that these things are valued at the level they're valued at is because of these low interest rates. But now what's happened, okay, because there's so much debt and the interest rates are going up, what's happening is people who have bonds, people who have assets, all of a sudden there's so much of that debt and assets out there, the interest rates are going up. Well, that's causing inflation because now they're having to pay so much money. Okay, it used to be you lift interest rates to stop the inflation. But now you lift interest rates, you're causing more inflation because there's so much debt out there. It causes the government to have to actually pay more out, okay? And it has the opposite effect. So we've kind of painted ourselves into a corner, and it's terrible. And it's something, it's a real reality that I think maybe those folks in, Idaho are starting to understand via the Kevin Miller Show. Okay, because, get rid of this prop, that Prop 1 or something, all this collectivist stuff. No, we need to get back to basics. We need to get back to, having a workforce that is productive, having a nation that's productive and actually makes stuff and not credit, not debt, because that's the problem. Okay, the instrumentality of the plunder in this nation is debt. Okay, and if you want to look at exactly why we have this disparity between wealth and poverty, it's because of debt. Because when the rich guys have the ability to snatch up all of this money first, look, I mean they're gonna use it, and then before everybody else. And so they're going to buy assets at a low price, and that jacks the assets up for everybody else. And so they just continue to stay rich.
Al, thank you for the call. Harv in Caldwell with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Harv.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, I just wanted to call back this morning, and I called in yesterday morning and was wanting to, I said I wanted to get a message to Liberal Steve, and I just made out a really nasty laugh. And I want to apologize to him for that. Everybody has a right to their own opinion and who they vote for. And his person didn't win the election, and that was just wrong of me to come back and gouge and spike the football, if you will.
Harv, that's why you're a true Idahoan. You get it, brother. Thank you, sir. No worries.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. We love when people honor and respect each other, and we hope that the libs will do that as well. Lib. Let's go to our friend Ron Grant, who joins us now.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Well, what about safety, Ron? What about keeping that money safe? What about not losing at all? Good morning.
Good morning, buddy. Whoa, those are rapid fires. Well, that's what I do. That's how I've helped myself, and that's how I help my clients, Kevin. 14 and a half years on talk radio, educating people on just how to do that. I believe that you worked your whole career to build assets that will help you live a great lifestyle during retirement. I think you should take steps to prevent the outliving of your income while enjoying that retirement income lifestyle. My clients and I sleep at night, Kevin, because we have an income source that's not in the 401ks and the 403bs and the stock market that we can live on and take care of our family on. And then when we've passed away, of course, the beneficiaries will get the balance. It's so important to have an income source that you can't outlive. And that's what I do for my clients.
Well, Ron, are you a high-pressure guy? I mean, you've been on the radio. You're a big star for over 14 years on talk radio. Are you going to come in and, try and give people the Heisman or what?
I love it, Kevin. No, I educate people. Education, knowledge is power. That's what we want to do. I want to ask a lot of questions. I listen a lot, and we want to make sure what you want to do with your money, when you want to take it, how you want to take it. We want to make sure that you're educated so that we can direct you in the right way to make sure that we keep that money 100% safe out of the Wall Street casino, the risk and the fees. Market goes up, we get a chance to go up with it. But if the market drops, we're not going to lose a penny. And we have that lifetime income, and that's so important.
Well, Ron, how can people, get the education? I'd like to say grill Ron Grant, but you know what I'm saying. How can they? Obviously, you want to make sure that you trust the person you're speaking with, and that's what you're doing, education and earning their trust. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I've set up a great educational website. There's articles on there that they can read. There's videos there that they can take a look at. There's a book they can even download, 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income. Then they can email me from the site, and that's safermoneyspecialist.com. Or let's have a conversation right here in the Treasure Valley, 208-660-1372. And let's help you get that money in a safer place, number one, and let's help you get that lifetime income that you and your family can take care of each other on.
Ron, we appreciate it. Great job.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. You always do a great job. Have a great day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Pat in Kuna, Idaho. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning. I'd like to put a finer, more salient point on the gentleman's comments out of Oregon. The only thing that produces new wealth is agriculture. You plant one seed and you let nature do its thing and you harvest many seeds. It's the old adage. How many seeds are in an apple? Maybe 4, 5, 6. How many apples are in a seed? Tens, hundreds, thousands of millions. And these people who think the great, grand, and glorious plan is to build all these subdivisions and then think that's going to boost the economy because, we're going to need more nail salons and massage spas and restaurants for people to engage in commerce at. They're short-sighted at best. So,
look, let me hit you with this one. You ever drive Chinden at all in Meridian?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, and this is where we'll get into a disagreement with Kent Goldthorpe because at one time there were fields. Now it's Costco. It's, this, that, and the other. But there was a very popular farm owned by a very local family, beloved. My wife's family would go there for years. And, now it's a gas station. Now, I don't blame those farmers because, A, they listen to the program. But, we're not supporting the people that have supported us for years and years. And now it's going to be Sneaky Pete's, unleaded forever and get a hot dog.
Right. No, I understand it. But the point is you cannot have an economy that is based on service only because the first thing that you start doing when money gets tight is washing your own car, cutting your own lawn, cooking your own food, and clipping your own nails.
So true, Pat. Thank you for the call. Kevin Miller in the morning. Don't forget our friends at Window World Boise for all your window needs. Appreciate that, Dave Burnett. We go inside the stock market next with Dave Petso, Kevin Miller. Joining us from Petso Financial, of course, Money Matters. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. What a wonderful couple of days we've had here, huh?
Indeed. Would you like to apologize to Donald Trump and everything else?
No. I don't know why I'd have to apologize. Because I would have preferred another candidate did not mean I wasn't 100% behind the guy when it came down to he and Kamala.
So you're
America made a great choice.
You're with him now, is what we're saying.
100%.
Our great friend Dave Petzo, we're just joking with him here on KIDO Talk Radio, but I don't think that Nikki Haley could have gotten the turnout that Donald Trump did. He appealed to a whole bunch of people, and he made a choice, as you and I have talked about, to be caustic, to be polarizing, to drive up her negatives, and really to bring back the working class male that has been marginalized during the Biden-Harris-Obama run.
Kevin, I think it's interesting and there's going to be a lot of analysis and over-analysis, right? Everybody wants to think they can bring the numbers, just like the pollsters. They just knew they were going to get it right again. And it is overanalyzed, but I find it amazing that Donald Trump excelled in every single area. Of course, it's men, and that allows for the liberal press to say, now we're all misogynists again. No, we're not. Women, he was able to attract women as well. Not a Nikki Haley type of outpouring, but it was good, and in particular, he was able to reach across racial lines like Republicans haven't. And to me, once you break that barrier and it's okay to be black and a Republican, because it hasn't been, I think you could see 4 years from now an even bigger number. And starting, because the truth is do people that are black really want something different than an economic opportunity and feeling safe? And having better schools instead of the worst schools in the country are the ones in the inner city. And those are all run by Democrats. And so I think at some point, maybe we're seeing the momentum that direction. But he was amazing. And coming down the stretch too, Kevin, he really didn't pick a whole lot of fights. Sure, he says stuff, but not like he did 4 years ago and 8 years ago. He was much more presidential, serious, and funny than he had been. Yeah, and we take a look now at the election, and Arizona will go to Trump. We're hearing out of the state that they've called it. The networks haven't picked that up yet, but this is a mandate, and many people say that this reminds people of what we haven't seen in a Republican Party in years. Maybe we go back to Bush 88. Maybe we go back to people talking about the Reagan landslide, but that was 49 states. I compare this as a presidential version of the 94 contract with America. How do you see it historically? Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. I do. And I couldn't help on Tuesday night thinking of something that the great Rush Limbaugh said in his last radio broadcast, that Democrats always go too far. Don't worry, America. And it was to me, it seemed resounding in this election. And people are going to try to analyze, and I'm going to do my own analysis and say it was Trump being Trump, or no, it wasn't. It was people not wanting to be woke anymore. I think it's both. I think it's all. We want to try something different. Trump is different and is a hard worker, and we all know what we're going to get. Yeah, but I think we're going to get more experience to that. And so as we do analyze it, Kevin, I think it's very interesting to peel back all of this and say, hey, is this like back in the 90s? Yeah, it could be, but at the same time, with Newt Gingrich, I think there is an opportunity here to make that across the aisle. Let's really build an even bigger coalition with centrist Democrats and push some much needed legislation across the finish line. And I just think that there's a real amazing opportunity. I like your analysis or analogy there to that time. It is an opportunity anyway for Republicans to pull together or pull people from the other side and really govern. Idaho will benefit. We will have Senator Risch, Chairman of Foreign Relations, Senator Crapo back to finance.
What does that mean to have two of our senators running some big dog committees?
Well, it's going to be specific to somebody in Idaho, businesses or what have you, or businesses that have ties to Idaho, where we have very powerful chairmen of committees. They're obviously going to be more favorable towards Idaho companies, and so therefore, if on a one-off situation, it could help.
But
I mean, generally,
it does help us. For people that haven't had the experience of going to D.C. and meeting with these folks as part of groups, and I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but I think you've disclosed that before. What is that like when you go in and meet with them and, Dave Petso as opposed to casual Dave Petso? You and I share our clothing habits when we're talking about fashion. But, I mean, you're all suited up and serious Dave Petso. What's that like?
Yeah, first of all, it's a great experience, and everybody, if you're going to D.C., and our congressmen and senators all say that, come by for a visit. You may not see the senator, you may not see the congressman, but you can certainly see the offices and talk to people there. That's what they're there for, and I think it's an experience everybody should have. I was actually back there specifically lobbying and got a chance to on a topic and got a chance to meet Risch. It was a particularly busy time, and so I was very honored that he would take a couple minutes and pop out to meet. But Kevin, the idea that these folks are going to be chairmen driving the agenda is going to be, at least in one-off situations for Idahoans, businesses here, is going to be incredibly important. It's not going to be, I'm meeting with my congressman, and I hope that someday that'll get into the committee. You're meeting with the chair that can make it happen if it's a topic that is something they think they ought to be brought up, and that is, to your point, is a big deal for Idaho.
Well, and I will tell you, they all are very hospitable. I found Senator Risch to really go out of his way. Obviously, Congressman Fulcher as well, but Jim Risch likes it when you show up. He, whether you're lobbying him or not, he really is a very people person. When we take a look at how important is it for the Republicans to keep the House, which would give Russ Fulcher a committee chairmanship, let's hope so, or if not, move him up the pecking order. Mike Simpson, a lot of people don't like Mike Simpson. However, he is that senior that he could have been the chairman of appropriations. Even if he's not, he's going to be up there. So, again, we all want to refrain from government spending, but when it comes to Idaho getting something, it helps to have these influential members of Congress.
It really does. And, Simpson is a big proponent for INEL and always has been. So any kind of lift there is just going to be very good for Eastern Idaho. No doubt about it. But to your question, of course, running Congress is important because it sets the agenda. It tells you what kind of investigations are going to be done, as we found out the last 2 years, when you can no longer bury what's going on with JoJo's son and other things. I think it's going to be fantastic if they can run investigations and find out what happened to the Justice Department, so it never happens again. Just firing people isn't enough in my mind. I want to find out why and who, and figure out how we can keep that from happening again. I think it's very important to do that. So all of that says those investigations, they can't all be run by the Senate. Some will, but I think with a Congress that helps run some of those investigations, and by having both branches, they really can pass a lot of legislation. I think they're going to have to compromise because the Republicans, unlike the Democrats, are not a unified party. And I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. I know we're frustrated when we can't get legislation through, but I don't want to be on a monolithic party where everybody votes no matter what, to what Nancy Pelosi says. And that, I think that's part of the reason that the Democrats are finding themselves so beholden to a small, narrow group of progressives that the whole country went, I don't want any more of this. This is crazy. These people care less about Israel than they do about giving free transgender surgeries to illegal aliens. This is crazy stuff. And it is crazy stuff. And Americans had enough.
Let's talk a little bit about crazy. How can the stock market be going through the roof? And we'll start with that one, sir. I know you're bummed out about that. Bo and I were joking. I go, oh, great, Dave is going to be galloping in, going crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I should have come down there today just to say hi.
Yes,
and,
yes, you should have.
Yeah, I should have. You're absolutely right. That's true. We'll have to keep that on the agenda. Anyway, this is interesting to me, watching the market leading up to this. And we talk about the gambling markets out there. I know you don't like them, Kevin, but they're really good to watch, better than polls, in my opinion, and certainly are much more accurate. It doesn't mean that Donald Trump was going to win, but he was ahead in the betting polls pretty significantly. It didn't mean that she couldn't win, and things wouldn't be close. But Trump had a lot more pathways to victory. Seems to be the way of saying that these days. So we get heading into this, the market's rallying. It's not waiting for the election; it's going up. And this is where I think we all think news happens now and then it affects. News is very rarely is the reason why. Was the market shocked? No. Did it still have a little bit of reserve? Yeah, 1,500 points yesterday worth, and probably some more gains today, at least so far. We're seeing the market do very, very well. And that's because Donald Trump was doing well before. And so now we're in a circumstance where it's just continuing on. Do I think the market goes to the moon from here? No, we have the same problems in place. It'll take time. But the idea that we are going to have a freer world, a safer world than we have is encouraging to business, encouraging for the economy, and will lead to better economic conditions down the road.
Dave Petzo joining us, Kevin Mill in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, we'll talk about the national debt and what Dave Petzo would urge Donald Trump, the Republicans, and the Democrats to do to solve it. And, of course, the state of the Idaho economy. More with our great friend Dave Petzo. You can catch him Saturdays 8 to 10. Money Matters on KIDO Talk Radio. Now, so, Dave, when we take a look at the debt, we're now paying more on the debt, I think, than we are for the military. You're a guy that always is talking about, oh, by the way, I went to Dutch Brothers today. When's the last time you went to Dutch Brothers? Probably when somebody else was buying, if I'm correct.
It was sure wrecked my cup of coffee a day plan. Hey, if I had to go there and buy, I don't actually think I've been to Dutch Bros. I do vaguely remember going to a Starbucks, but I haven't actually been to Dutch Bros. So they're hard to get to. They're so busy.
I went to a Dutch Brothers this morning. I bought a green tea. What do you think that cost me?
$5.
$2.99.
I don't know. $2.99. Okay.
$2.99, or maybe it was $3.99. And I'm like, blank. It's just a tea bag. Now,
true.
Now the service is great and everything else, but I'm thinking to myself, I thought of you this morning. I go, I'm going to mention that to Dave Petzo, and you're always saying a cup of coffee a day and everything else, but you take a look at this government debt. Could that, and I talked about this last hour with Alan Ontario, could that endanger the stock market if all of a sudden we're having a debt issue? And you and I have really addressed this issue, you and Senator Crapo, for many more years, but we've talked about this for the last 10 years. How big of a danger is it, and how do you handle it?
Kevin, it is a danger, and it's also the only way I know to handle this is to turn this discussion into a moral issue and quit acting like this is not a big deal until we collapse. It's a big deal, and all spending today will roll out to the future as well, meaning if we're overspending today, then that means we're taking from the future, and I just don't see that being talked about as a moral issue, that it's okay for us to steal from our children and our grandchildren. Of course it's wrong to do that. And it is in some way or another. And to me, what we do about it is we start talking about how wrong this is to steal from future generations. And then we can change the dialogue, because the problem we're having right now with this is that we can all sit here and go, I'm a thinker down the road, okay? I can think out 20 and 30, 40 years. The average person walking around doesn't give a rip about 20 years from now. unless it affects their children or grandchildren. And what I mean by that is people don't. They see what's in front of them, not what is coming. And I don't mean you in a predictive way. This isn't predicting that we're going to have a problem somewhere down the road. It's already baked in. There's no way we can continue on this trajectory of spending this much money into infinity. We just don't know when we cross that bridge, if you will, and can't come back. We just don't know where that dollar amount is or percent of GDP, all of those things. What I do know is it wasn't 25 years ago when Ross Perot was bouncing around talking about. I guess it was more like 35 years ago, and it wasn't in the year 2000, and it's not today. It hasn't slowed us down, even with trillions of dollars. But I sitting around and waiting until and only thinking about it from when will it kill us perspective is not going to solve the problem until people turn this into I got to take care of my kids, my grandkids, future generations. I am a steward of this world, of this great country. I need to act like an owner, a steward, and not that I'm just kind of passing through and renting.
Also, aren't we paying like $800 billion in interest or something ridiculous like that to China on the debt we owe them?
It is. And it is a big number. It's a big number to everybody, whether it's China, whether it's Japan, whether it's whomever. It's the pension plans out there. It's all a very big interest payment. It comes right out of the taxpayer's back pocket.
I mean, we're literally funding our enemies.
We are. We do when they buy our bonds. Absolutely. And we can buy their bonds. I don't think I want to buy Chinese bonds, but because that actually funds them too, right, with the principal payments, and then they'll pay back the interest. But Kevin, these things I don't worry about who is buying the bonds as much as I do how are we going to possibly pay for this, whoever it is that owns those bonds? Because we've worried about Japan owning too many bonds of ours. We've worried about the Dutch, believe it or not, the nice Dutch people owning too much of our bonds, and now it's China. It is constant, and that we always want to find a worry if an enemy or a rival has some of our or too many of our bonds.
This one has an army, though. The little Dutch boys don't.
This one has more than an army. It has a big army and a very powerful and good technology. This is a dangerous foe, but not because they own our bonds. This is a dangerous foe in every way, shape, and form because they do, just like the former Soviet Union, they want to take us over. They want to take over the world.
How did we get it so wrong on China trade, though, with Obama and all that? How did we get it so wrong, sir? I mean, you've been at the forefront of this. I mean, you spelled it out. You and your beloved President Donald Trump have spelled this out. So why did we get it so wrong? It was the Bushes, it was the Clintons, it was the Obamas, it was, you remember, I believe it was George Bush Sr. that, brought them into the WTO, and that was going to, we were going to make China more like us, and in turn, I think we've become, unfortunately, more like China, sir.
Correct. That was the thought. And it was working pretty well for a while, right? Where Hong Kong was the core of where you saw capitalism meeting communism. And now, of course, it doesn't exist anymore because they've just taken it over and thrown out all the good people and made China uninvestable again. And so I think that's going to play out in a very weak economy for China for decades, perhaps forever. And because you cannot mandate a government-grown economy. It won't work. It just doesn't work. And so it never has in history, so maybe they'll figure out a way to do it. But it's never worked in history on any long-term basis. But China it was that opportunity. And where we went wrong is we were so sure of having cheap manufacturing, so sure that because they were so far behind us technologically, that it was okay that they stole a few movies and pirated a few microchips. It's okay. And they have recently, this is a fairly recent turn, to them being so militarized and so anti-American. So I do think that it's been more recent that they turned so military. And I think that people got way out on their skis without being careful with however many favors or allowance for poor behavior that we gave, who has now turned out to be our biggest enemy.
What about the Trump tariffs?
It's a really good question. Really good. I mean, a much deeper question I think we need to reflect on than people are, right? Because if you're on the left, you're like, the Trump tariffs are terrible. We're going to get more inflation. Woe is me. The stock market must be just full of really stupid people rallying and stuff. It's not, and we have to stop and ask what's going on. I think that tariffs generally do and correctly have a bad reputation. And that really stems from the Depression, and when tariffs were a really bad idea, they threw them on to try to raise some revenue, and of course that just really hurt the economy even more. There are times, though, that we need to stop and say, is the best way to raise revenue in our country the way we do it? Is a tax code a 1,000,000-word tax code? And I know when you say 1,000,000, it's like you go, oh, and the people gloss over. It's 1,000,000. It's over 1,000,000 words. That's how indecipherable it is. How jury rigged this thing is. It's a horrible system we have. And what if we just kind of rethought about it? How about tariffs? How about this? How about that? It doesn't. I'm not approving them. I'm just liking the idea of us stopping and saying, we do these things terrible. It's like we can't look at education except saying we need more money. No, we don't need more money. We need to reinvigorate it. We need to rethink about education. We need to rethink about our tax code. We need to rethink about our economy and what it does. Is that a form of tariffs? Is it a form of a VAT tax? No, I hate VAT taxes. I don't want more sales. Hey, hold it. Just let's get a bunch of smart people in the room and let's figure out how to make government work better. Instead of saying it needs to shrink, let's do that. But let's figure out a better, more functional way. What if we could collect taxes and not have the IRS running around? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? It's still, these are the kind of things that I think that tariffs make us think about. So I want to keep an open mind about it. And I just don't think you can draw these little graphs and charts like economists want to do and just say that won't work because it didn't. And I learned that it won't 30 years ago. I'm not saying it is the greatest idea. I'm saying let's think about this and certainly target our enemies, for crying out loud, instead of just deciding this is the world-ending economic disaster of our lifetime, because that's what these old economists want to believe because they're at the Chicago School of Business of leftists, I should say.
Dave Petzo joining us. Dave, anything else you would like to share in a preview of your Saturday show?
Absolutely. I thank you for that, Kevin. I do. I think that this is another lesson for people on the left and on the right. Markets are markets. Politics are politics. And when you come into this, it's going to be a disaster. It's a horrible thing. Or you sell out. I got to wait until after the election. You could have done that a year ago. This is a horrible world. Everything is upside down and terrible. And you miss 30% gains. You can't have them back. You going to buy today? Is it time now for Bitcoin? Is it time? Is it time now for the great corporations of the world? These need to be held and not worry about pullbacks, and because you can't predict them. Business is business. And again, these are lessons from this election, the last one, the one before, and so on. This is important, and you and your listeners, you know how important this election was and how great it is. But it's really going to pay its dividends with our children and our grandchildren, not today in the stock market. And I know it's where we live and what we look at, but we need to be thinking about these types of things and not panicking about them. So thank you for that, Kevin.
Dave Petzo, thank you. We always appreciate you, sir.
You too, Kevin. Have a beautiful day. This is a great day, a great week in America.
Dave, take care now.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Our great friend Dave Petzo. Beacon Plumbing brings you Fox News. Stop freaking, call Beacon. get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio on the freeway, looking pretty good right now. It's still a bit busy and heavy and slow, very typical this time of day. Working several accidents away from the freeway, Notice Road and Simplot Boulevard in Canyon County, as well as Fargo and North Franklin Road in Caldwell. Chinden and Tree Farm have an accident there. If you have an accident, Mike Miniger's Auto Body will restore your vehicle to pre-accident condition, and they guarantee their work. Call Mike Miniger's Auto Body. Visit BoiseAutobody.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Phone calls. Coming up, we're going to tell you how to protect your kids. Also, the latest from our friends at Camp Rainbow Gold, the Attorney General, and Peter Thiel. Let's go to our friend from Camp Rainbow Gold. Is this Stephanie or Bethany?
This is Bethany. Hi, Kevin.
I Bo had you down as Stephanie, but I figured Bethany from Camp Rainbow Gold. You've got a big event going on today at the Chick-fil-A's. What's going on?
Absolutely. Yes, we are just jumping up and down. We are so excited. Chick-fil-A Village at Meridian, Chick-fil-A on Franklin Road, and Chick-fil-A on Broadway and Front have all joined forces to support the kids and their families. And today, all day, 15% of all sales will be donated to our camps and programs for Idaho Kids with Cancer.
Boy, so how can people help?
Absolutely, yes. Please stop by, get a chicken sandwich, get your dinner taken care of for your family tonight, and help us send Idaho Kids with Cancer to summer camp.
So, and I'm sorry if I missed it, how much of the proceeds go to help you guys?
Yes, 15% of all sales from today are being donated.
Boy, that's very nice of the folks at Chick-fil-A to do this for you guys.
They are just some of the kindest people I have ever had the pleasure of meeting, and we're just so grateful for them. We're very excited for today.
For people, Bethany, that aren't familiar with Camp Rainbow Gold, can you give us what's going on? I mean, obviously, is camp season over, or does it ever end for you guys?
You know, it doesn't ever really end, but an overview of us is Camp Rainbow Gold provides summer camps and programs for Idaho Kids with Cancer and their families. So we have 5 different camps that take place throughout the year, and we have 2 family camps, a youth oncology camp, a teen oncology camp, and a sibling camp. And then along with that, we have year-round events for these children and their families. So we have family events, a teen support group, and a college scholarship program for these families going through difficult times. And it's all completely free. So that is the reason why this Chick-fil-A fundraiser is so big and so exciting, and we just can't wait for today.
Well, we love Chick-fil-A. Joe does a great job there. We've known Joe since he came to town.
He is the best.
The old Florida Gator. So one more time, the Chick-fil-A's, which ones?
Yes, it is Chick-fil-A Village at Meridian, Chick-fil-A on Franklin Road, and Chick-fil-A Broadway in Front.
Boy, that's a lot. So let's see. That's Joe and Brad, and we love those guys.
Yeah.
They do a great job. And I remember, just a little brief history, I remember when those guys came to town, they wanted to be a part of Idaho, and Chick-fil-A and Camp Rainbow Gold, you can't go wrong with either one of those today and every day. So Bethany, we appreciate you. Your website?
Yes, it's camprainbowgold.org.
All right. We'll see you on the trail.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Bethany. camprainbowgold.org. Joining us now, our friend Deborah Kraft. We talk to her every year, but we should talk to her more often because she and her friends are on the front lines trying to protect your kids. Deborah, great to have you with us. Sorry for the mix-up.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Well, for people that are wondering, the people that aren't your fans on social media or following you across the country, tell us a little bit about why you're here today, ma'am.
Well, we are bringing a multi-presentation event to the area Friday evening and Saturday morning. The guest speaker is from the U.S. Secret Service. The topic is how to keep youth safe on the Internet. So we have one presentation Friday evening for adults, and then Saturday morning is for the youth.
When we talk about keeping you safe from what, scammers, or are we talking people that are going after kids, or is it both?
Yeah. Really, one folds into the other, but the primary focus is keeping kids safe from sexual predators on the internet. And, of course, part of that is they do scam these kids, but it really is a broad spectrum of approaches these predators do to the kids. And so a big part of these presentations will educate and train the audience on what this looks like, what these forms of child sexual exploitation and abuse take, which includes AI.
Deborah, tell us about your group.
We are a nonprofit 501c3 educational organization, and we are all volunteers. So we have our core officers, then we have a leadership team, and then for events like this, we build a project team. We have a group that's going to be helping us with setup, breakdown, and running of the event Friday evening. And then for Saturday, we actually have on our project team, we have youth that will be working with the adult volunteers to help run that event smoothly, too. And we have a lot going on Saturday, so we're very appreciative of the help of our youth.
Well, what's the best way to get registered or to stop by?
We do not require registration. We would welcome anybody who walks in, but we would encourage them to register. It is free. We have our flyer posted on our Facebook page, and that is Canyon County Anti-Trafficking Task Force.org. And we also have, and that has a link that'll take them right to the events calendar on our website. But they can go directly to our website, same address, Canyon County Anti-Trafficking Task Force.org, and they can go to our, just click on events calendar, and it'll take them to the month of November, and they can click on whichever event they want to attend, whether it's Friday night or Saturday morning, and just sign up.
What do you say to people that say, my kid is smart, my kid's not going to be a victim to a pedophile, to sexual trafficking, to running away?
The problem, Kevin, that we have with youth is that they are youth, and that means that their brains, for one thing, their brains are not fully developed, so they really cannot comprehend what they're dealing with online. Their areas of emotions and rational thinking are still in development. So these predators know that all too well, and they have the skills now to basically brainwash these kids, and without the youth even realizing they're being victimized, they think that they've already started to trust these predators, and folded into that is the fact that youth going through puberty, sexuality is a very natural thing to them, and so they don't have the concept of needing to keep themselves safe and not engage in these behaviors. And that is one topic that our guest speaker will be talking about, is not to be sharing nudes and posting online inappropriate content, something that maybe surprisingly to our adults, they actually do need to be taught. So it's very real, and there is no category of youth that are not vulnerable to this type of victimization.
Deborah Kraft joining us here as we move on. What would you say to parents right now that are listening, that the one thing you could tell them, and you do tell them, to protect their kids? I mean, remember, we're all ADD, we're all addicted to our phones, we're all worried about paying the mortgage.
Right. Well, the number one message that we see almost across the board from professionals, law enforcement, those working in the social workers, is to have those conversations with your kids. And that may seem uncomfortable and even counterintuitive, but parents really need to start talking to their kids about the reality that there are dangers on the internet, and that there have to be boundaries, and that youth need to discern. They need to actually question who they're talking to online. If they don't know that individual in person and additionally are comfortable associating with that individual in person, they should not be engaging with someone online. So these, referrals that they get from friends, oh, I friended him, so you should friend him too, that can be very dangerous. And these gaming apps, they have really made it very difficult for adults to keep track of who their kids are talking to, because there's a lot of predators on these gaming apps. And these pop-ups, kids should not be clicking on any pop-ups. It's gotten to the point where, and you asked me a question last week, Kevin, I want to just clarify something with you. You asked me how many Idaho youth have been victimized online by these sexual predators. I don't have that specific for you. I did mention thousands, but I can tell you that the current data, and this is from the Internet Crimes Against Children Coalition, a nonprofit organization, and they have a great website, is that as many as 34,000 Idaho children receive at least one Internet solicitation for sex annually. And I really want to underscore that annually, because cumulatively, 1 year after the other, you add up those 34,000, that gives you an idea of the scope and magnitude of our youth that are being victimized.
Is there any way for these kids to recover?
Know to Protect does have on their website, and I want to emphasize this wonderful educational campaign by the Department of Homeland Security. They do offer a lot of resources for reporting suspected interactions between a youth and a potential predator, and they and from there they will guide an adult or a parent to how to get help for their teen, for their or child. So yes, there is help out there, most definitely. And the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a wonderful resource also. This campaign was put together in partnership between the Department of Homeland Security and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So it's just a vast array of expertise that were used and resources. So we're very excited to have this opportunity to bring to the public. We know it's not a comfortable topic, but we would really encourage adults and youth and parents to make the time and the effort to attend.
Deborah, one more time this weekend, if you could let us know what's going on and why people should attend. And again, I know you call me every year, but you can call me more than once a year. You could be on once a month because this is so important.
I will call you more often. Thanks for the invite, Kevin. Friday evening, the presentation on how to keep youth safe on the Internet is being offered at the Idaho Hispanic Community Center on 315 Stampede Avenue in Nampa. The introduction to our guest speaker will actually be given by U.S. Attorney Joshua Hurwitz, because their office also works in this area of crime, not surprisingly, and works with Neil Uhrig. And so that is for adults. It begins at 7 o'clock in the evening. We expect it to run no more than an hour and a half, so there'll be a presentation, then a time for question and answer. And then Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, the presentation is for the youth, and we have food for the youth. We have some great door prizes for the youth. This will be held at the Crossroads Church in Caldwell. It's an industrial building, so it doesn't look like a church, but it's at 110 South 6th Avenue in Caldwell, and that will run from 10 to noon. We have flex time on either end of that, because we will be processing the door prizes and the tickets, and youth do have to be present to receive the door prize if they win it. Otherwise, we will move on to the next person that we pull out of the the container. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We think that it's going to be a great opportunity, and I don't think you can get a better training session for youth than coming from this expert in the field. And I just share with you that he is a network intrusion forensic analyst for the U.S. Secret Service. He has a tremendous background. He's highly respected within the field of law enforcement. So it's just really a stellar opportunity for adults and youth.
Deborah, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate you.
Our great friend, take care. Our great friend Deborah Kraft joining us. Kevin Miller. Don't forget our friends at Hoagland Meat, hoaglandmeat.com. Thoughts on the end of Prop 1 in Idaho. And really, you know, the future of Republicanism, conservatism in the state of Idaho. Raul Labrador will join us coming up next hour. We'll talk to our friend Peter Thiel, get his thoughts on just how Donald Trump won the White House, so much so that even the libs are giving him credit because this is very different than 2016. He's got his people. It's not Paul Ryan's Republican Party. It's not John Boehner's Republican Party. It is the Donald Trump Republican Party.
It is, again, the scope and scale of this victory is sweeping. And we can focus, by the way, we can focus on Donald Trump if we would like. But this goes so far beyond Donald Trump. Make no mistake, his victory, again, historic. But you look at Republicans across the nation. You look at how handily they're winning states. As Willie said, you look at Illinois, a 4-point margin. Illinois, a 5-point margin in New Jersey. This is a Democratic Party that has been just wiped out this morning.
Yeah, Republicans steamrolled. They have captured the Senate. The House still up for grabs, but those close.
The House is still up for grabs, not for long. Our great friend Congressman Fulcher will join us tomorrow morning with a complete wrap-up and analysis of what the heck happened and what's next. Speaking of which, let's get you to work safely and on time with KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, traffic now on the freeway still slowing down for you a bit right there at Linder as you head on into Ada County, finishing cleanup of an accident at Chinden and Tree Farm. That's your traffic. Now, I'm Dave Burnett on KIDO Talk Radio.
And at KIDO Talk Radio, your home for Clay and Buck. They are great. They're fun. They're informative. And they are coming up next. Sean Hannity as well. Is there a person more connected to Donald Trump than Sean Hannity? No. Lars Larson gives you the Northwest perspective on local, state, and national issues. That's today at 4. And we do want to remind you, Miller's Mission just around the corner, where we ask you to give a turkey, don't be a turkey, benefiting our friends at the Boise Rescue Mission. Won't you join us at the Walmart on Garrity and Franklin? Coming up November 18th through the 23rd. Yes, we'll be there on Saturday, hanging out in the big tent, doing our very best to raise money, raise awareness, and get a bunch of turkeys. We need turkeys. And as we like to say, give a turkey, don't be a turkey. From your Treasure Valley turkey, Kevin Miller. We have our friend Peter Thiel joining us now, branding expert, news talk expert, voiceofpeter.com, with us right now. How are you?
I'm good, and you know how much I hate to say this, Kevin Miller, especially here on KIDO.
My man.
I was right again. I was right. Is that Kamala Harris needed to be elected president of the United States? There were two demographics. Black voters voting 90% or more of that community, voting for her with a huge turnout, and Catholic voters. So Kamala Harris had 92% of black women voters, but only 77% of black men. Not good. The other thing was Catholic voters, and this was a complete debacle by her. She did not go to the Al Smith dinner, which benefits Catholic charities. It has been a tradition for presidential candidates to go. It's a wonderful thing, raises millions upon millions of dollars for the wonderful work the Catholic Charities does on a daily basis across this country. and she opted not to go. And some Catholic groups all of a sudden said, well, if she's not that interested in us, we're going to tell our people. And Catholic voters, it was 58% of Catholic voters went to Donald Trump. And people often think, well, aren't they kind of monolithic? No, Catholic voters are really diverse. I know Catholic voters who are pro-abortion rights, complete left-wingers. I know very conservative and all in the middle. It is not an easy group to pin down. And so with those two things, that's why she lost. And there's another thing, and I've not seen the data since yesterday, but I think this is going to hold true, since we're waiting for mail-in ballots. There's not one county in the United States where Kamala Harris did better than Joe Biden 4 years ago.
Our great friend Peter Thiel joining us, voiceoverpeter.com. Have you ever seen anything like this in your life? To me, it brings me back to 94. Some say Bush 88. I think Reagan 84 is not really a correct comparison. You're a man of politics. What say you?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen something like this, and it basically came down to a couple of reasons. Is that Kamala Harris, even though she'd been vice president since 2021, and really in the lexicon of Americana since 2019, when she began her run for president, and she had her starring moment at the Brett Kavanaugh confirmations. The big complaint, and some of the data that came out, is that people didn't know her. And they ran the same type of campaign, the Democrats did, that they did with Hillary Clinton, with Joe Biden, where the candidate was not out front everywhere. You saw her husband. You saw Kamala's crazy show kick girl guy, Tim Walz, and his Looney Tunes bride. It's all about messaging and all about stuff. And when you're the candidate of joy, which was quote unquote her brand, you can't spend the last 2 weeks yelling at voters to vote for you. And that if you don't vote for you, you're a Nazi. That's not a way to garner, or you're a misogynist. Did you see the footage of Morning Joke and Al Sharpton?
I did.
Yeah, it was a lot of, basically it was talking down about voters that are of certain groups, Hispanics and blacks, who didn't vote for Kamala because they were, and it was just literally, it was like plantation bosses, the way they were talking down about somebody that would choose someone to vote for. It's an American right. You are a citizen. You go and vote. Doggone it. You can vote for whomever you wish, whether I agree with you or not.
I agree. Peter Thiel joining us. Take us inside Trump world. You've lived in New York. You're a player. What is that world like?
Yeah, here's I think Trump learned something, and it took him about 2 years when he was president the first time, about how staffing is policy. And so right now he is getting the transition rolling. They've got to hire like 4,000 people and these political positions. So they're going to quickly go out and try to have these jobs filled by January 20th. Frequently, as we have learned, some of these jobs do not fill until till March of 2025. So they're going to be going out and doing this. But Trump now knows that you have to have the right people who are on the same page, who are capable, adept leaders to take this on. And Kevin, one of the things that the day before the election was the craziest thing I've heard in a long time. There were members people on CNN and MSNBC saying that you had to vote for Kamala because Trump and the Republicans are going after the bureaucracy, and we have to protect the bureaucracy. I didn't realize there were people who were fans of bureaucracy. I've been living in a shell. Now, Trump's weakness has been, and we all have weaknesses. We all have things that, it's not necessarily a bad thing or a character flaw or something like that. Trump's one weakness is that he has been and shown to be susceptible to flattery. And when people tell Trump, and they're in that inner circle, and they tell him how smart he is and how brilliant he is, that's real problematic. As somebody who's worked as a supervisor over the years, I took a job right after we worked together in Huntsville, and one of the staffers started just, telling me what a smart guy I was, like I'd been in the building for about 30 seconds. And of course, I am a smart guy. That's true.
You are.
But,
you are.
I don't want people to give me praise. Let's just go to work. Let's get things done. I don't need to hear praise. It's I just want to get stuff done. And Trump loves that. And it's a weakness. So in his inner circle, I will say this, is that the three older kids seem to be, they're able to tell their dad no, and they're able to say, Dad, no, you got to do this, you got to do that, and he listens to them. He listens to Melania. He listens to Barron. Tiffany, has always been sort of not necessarily involved in the political type world. I think she's close to her dad, but never really sort of an advisor to the dad. I think that, I think he knows the lessons. I hope that he goes and grabs people who are loyal to his agenda, which is to make America healthy again and to make America great again, to make sure that we go in and actually look at government inefficiencies and take those out. We have the bureaucracy and regulations damage all Americans because we're paying into this, and our national debt's at a place where we better figure out how to address it now, or we are going to be Venezuela. And I don't want to be Venezuela, and Kamala Harris, of course, loved that.
Our great friend Peter Thiel joining us here. I'm interested, by the way, his website, voiceoverpeter.com. If you were hired to take care of the vice president, what is going on with her psyche now?
I have a feeling that she was forced into this by Obama. A little memory here going back when she was Attorney General of the state of California, and this was probably around 2014. Obama was doing some sort of a fundraiser or whatever in either San Francisco or LA, and went on and on and on about what an amazing woman Kamala Harris was. From all reports, she was never fully comfortable being vice president. That's not a knock on her. It's a terrible job to be in. She did not get along with her staff. They had, I mean, they talked about Trump going through staff. Her staff had complete turnover like 3 or 4 times. So we're talking about somebody, I think she's happy it's done. I think the people who are most upset are Barack and Michelle Obama, who obviously have been running the White House and having their people run the White House the last 4 years. Here's the other thing about the Democratic Party. You know, they said that democracy was on the ballot, right, Kevin?
Yes. Yes, Peter.
And 2016, Barack Obama and the Democratic machine told Bernie not to run and got him to get out of the race to make a way for Hillary. 2020, James Clyburn and Barack Obama in the background, sat down and got every other candidate to drop out of the race to coronate Joe Biden. This is after only 2 primaries. This was an absolute, we're the bosses, we're just picking this and we're going on, we're the machine. And in 2024, once they got Joe Biden out of the way, instead of having an open convention to talk about issues and vision, it was everybody got in line immediately to get behind her. The other thing about Kamala is that obviously she's not very comfortable in her own skin. That's why you get the nervous laughter. That's why you get the wine mom sort of thing. You think she has lots of signs around her home that say wine in it? I bet she does. And so, she is uncomfortable, so she laughs, even not at herself, over non-remarkably interesting things. I think that, her scripting, and this was changed during the internet, especially in the last decade with YouTube and with all the sources to find information on X and Facebook, Instagram, is that people are live streaming, just people in the audience, every speech. And all of a sudden you go in and Kamala's giving the same speech city after city after city. And obviously she's not writing them. Who is, I don't know. We'll probably never know. But you go to a Trump rally, and believe me, as a teleprompter up there, probably with things they want him to cover.
Right.
But, Trump's freestyling from moment one. It's like going to a rap show and all of a sudden, 50 Cent's up there and all of a sudden Master P shows up and they start doing some freestyling. Trump freestyles like a rapper.
Peter, if people want to get a hold of you, voiceoverpeter.com, is that the best way to go?
Yeah, voiceoverpeter.com, and I really appreciate it. And Kevin, thank you so much for having me on.
No, we'll get you back to your regular slot next week. My apologies. We appreciate you, Peter. Thank you.
All right, you have a good one.
Our great friend Peter Thiel. Coming up next, the Attorney General, Raul Labrador. Oh, boy, this is going to be a good one.
How are you?
Great to have you with us. So without further ado, your reaction.
What a wonderful night Tuesday night it was. It was great for America. It was great for Idaho. I couldn't be more pleased. I was very optimistic about Trump's chances. I knew that Trump had a good chance of winning. I didn't realize he was going to be winning by the numbers that he's winning, but he's created a whole new coalition for the Republican Party, and I think that's fantastic. But even more important than that for Idaho, I mean, we totally crushed Proposition 1, and that was incredible how the voters of Idaho rejected the out-of-state money, the out-of-state influence, and told everyone Idaho's not for sale.
And yet we still have the out-of-state interests that are coming in. Since you switched it to Idaho, sir, what do you make of all these people? I mean, you ran in the days, let's go back to old school Raul Labrador. You ran with no money, no this, no that, no, and you beat the unbeatable. And obviously we're all happy that you have, but you remember the days where there were no outside conservative groups that really valued Idaho. And yet today we have that. We also have the outside liberal groups, sir.
Well, I think what's been happening is that people realize that Idaho is an inexpensive state to campaign in and to advertise in. So we have, especially a lot of outside liberal groups that thought that they could come to Idaho and buy elections. But you're right, the history in Idaho, what's been the funniest thing about this Proposition 1 is that all the proponents kept saying that the only reason somebody like me would oppose Proposition 1 is because I can't win under a closed primary. Under an open primary. And what's ironic about that is that my first 3 races were actually in a closed primary system. An open primary system. I actually won my first race for the legislature overwhelmingly, not by a little bit, but overwhelmingly in an open primary system where I was running against one elected official who was a ACHD commissioner, and the other person had endorsements from every single Republican legislator in the House. That was the race, my first race. I had my own money. I spent my own money for that election. I didn't raise a lot of money. And I won that in a 3-way race with, I think it was something like 42 or 43% of the vote. I crushed it. Then I won re-election easily for the legislature. And then I ran for Congress, as you remember, in, again, an open primary system where my opponent in the primary spent 3 to 4 to 1 against me, and had every single establishment PAC supporting him, had everyone behind him. He even had the National Republican Party behind him in an open primary, and I beat him by 9 points. So it's laughable for me when people say, well, the only reason you opposed Proposition 1 is because you can't win in an open primary. Well, first of all, learn a little bit of history. Google is really cheap. It doesn't take that much to Google, and you'll learn that I can do very well in open primaries. But the reality is that it was just a bad system. And what you saw nationally is in 7 different states, they tried to pass this. So for anybody to say that this was a grassroots movement, that's complete and utter bull. This was a national movement where they were trying to influence elections. The national groups that were spending millions and millions of dollars were trying to influence a local election. And I'm grateful that in all 7 states that they tried it, it failed. It only won in one state. It's not even a state. In the District of Columbia, that's the only place where it actually passed. And as you know, in Alaska, they got rid of it. So it was such a bad idea to begin with, and I'm just so happy that it was roundly rejected by people of Idaho. And I take pride that Idaho, yes, it lost in every state, but the state where it lost the biggest was in Idaho. So they really lost bigly here.
Bigly, yes, sir. Our great friend, the Attorney General, Raul Labrador, joining us. Before we get to everything else, let's go back to, we don't give enough credit to the folks that like you, and you had a tough one because you're saying, hey, this is a bait and switch, and then you had the media not being fair but attacking you, and everybody that said that this is not right. The media, along with the paid ads, tried to portray this as something it wasn't.
They did. They lied, and that's what was ironic is that the supporters, not the supporters, because supporters didn't really know what was going on, but the people that were promoting this in Idaho were lying every single day about what this was. They were calling it an open primary, which it was not. It was a top 4 primary. They were saying that it was going to take us back to 2012. Which it was not, because we had a different system in 2012. They were even lying. If you saw the commercials, they were lying about how it was the big party bosses that want the closed primaries. You remember this fight, Kevin?
I do.
It wasn't the big party bosses who were fighting to close the primaries. It was a lowly freshman legislator like myself who was dumbfounded that the grassroots of the party wanted to close the primary But the governor of Idaho, the chairman of the Republican Party, the Secretary of State said, no, you can't close the primaries, and we're not going to let you do it. So for every single aspect of their campaign was a lie. It was the grassroots who decided that they wanted to close the primaries. Whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, that's debatable, and we can have a good debate. And I have very good friends who think that the primaries should be open, and they have very valid reasons that the primary should be open. That's a debate that we can have within the party. But their advertising was deceptive, intentionally deceptive. When they were claiming, and the one that bothered me the most is that they were claiming that military men and women were unable to participate in our primaries. That was just a complete and utter lie. There is no veteran in Idaho who cannot participate. They can choose to register as a Republican if they want to, but they are not prevented from participating in the Republican primary. And some people choose not to participate in the Republican Party, but to actually say that the fat cats in the Republican Party are preventing military people from participating in the primaries, that was such a lie, and I think it was offensive. I'll tell you a funny story, Kevin. I was at church a couple of weeks ago, and I have a good friend, and the reason we're good friends is because we never talk about politics, because I don't think he's not as conservative as I am. He doesn't want to talk about politics. I think I have known him for 14 or 16 years, and we have never talked about politics, and we've remained friends. And he came up to me 2 weeks ago, and he said, Raul, I know I never talked to you about politics, but can I talk to you about this Proposition 1? And knowing his politics, I thought, oh, no. He's going to just yell at me about something about Prop 1, right? And he said, I just started studying this. I started reading what the media was saying. I started looking at what the proponents of this thing were saying. And I'm so angry. They're lying. They're lying to me. And I'm voting no, and I'm telling all my friends that I'm voting no. And he was just angry that they lied to him. And this is not a right-wing conservative or anything like that. I don't even know if he is registered as a Republican. I didn't even ask him that question. I just thought he was so mad that the proponents of this initiative and of were lying to him, and he said, I will make sure that no one votes for this thing. So it actually backfired on them. The millions and millions of dollars that they spent, it completely backfired on them because people saw them lying, and Idahoans don't like to be lied to.
Our great friend, the Attorney General, Raul Labrador, joining us. Can we get you for one more segment, sir?
Sure.
Okay, more coming up here as we break down the election, the fallout, and what's next for conservatism in Idaho with Raul Labrador. Talk about a lot of things. So, Mr. Attorney General, I know a lot of people are going to ask you this, and it's not going to be the question you're thinking of. What do you think about if Donald Trump called you? What would you do? I know your priority is Idaho, and you've had a chance to go to D.C. You've been in D.C., but, I mean, you've worked with him. He knows you very well. You know him very well. What do you think?
I first of all, I don't think that's going to happen. And it would be, I love what I'm doing right now. I think I'm making a huge difference. I love being in Idaho. Obviously, it would be an honor, but I just don't think there's any chance that's going to happen. There's a lot of people that are very close to the president who work closely with him that are qualified to do a lot of the jobs that they need in Washington, D.C. So I'll just leave it at that.
And we're going to, I'm going to be a little fanboyish here, but a lot of these people are your friends. You know them and you talk to them as a friend of theirs. I'm sure you're happy for them.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. No, I know a lot of people in that are potentially going to be in the administration. I know a lot of people who deserve to be in the administration. If somebody asks me, there's even some people that I would recommend to be in the administration. I think they have, it's hard to say this, but the easy part is done, getting elected. Now they have to do the hard work, because if you listen to him on election night, he talked, or the morning after the election at 2 o'clock in the morning or whenever he spoke. Dude, it's incredible how much energy he has. But if you listen to him, he said that he wants to be known, that his number one priority is promises made, promises kept. And it's time. It's going to be really, really hard to get done the things that he wants to do. Immigration is top priority for everyone. The economy is top priority. They're going to have a lot of fight with the Democrats, because even if we keep the House, which it looks right now like we're going to keep the House, and we're going to have a 2 or 3 vote majority in the Senate, you still need to convince Democrats to vote with you on policy. Obviously, on immigration, it's going to be a little bit easier because immigration is just enforcing the law, and that's all he has to do. He has to make sure that he enforces the law, that he deports the people that are here illegally, and that he closes the border like he's promised to do. And people are going to be looking at that early to make sure that he's keeping those promises. So there's a lot of hard work for them to do. But no, there's a lot of very qualified people that I know that are really capable. I mean, you think about, people like Ron DeSantis. I mean, I hope they put him in the administration. I think he'd be a great AG, or he would be great in many other things. Jim Jordan. I mean, just you go down the line and you can think of all the good people that are there. It looks like Marco Rubio is potentially going to be the Secretary of State. I think he would be a fantastic choice. These are all good friends of mine, and I think I'm just excited for the possibilities. But really, the most important thing is the ability that we're going to have to reshape the court for generations to come, for at least a generation. He's probably going to have to replace a couple of conservatives that are a little bit older that we're going to miss. Alito is probably going to step down in the next 4 years, so he'll be replacing him. Be interesting to see what Clarence Thomas does, who's my favorite of the current court. He's been a hero of mine since I was actually in college watching the hearings. I was a senior in college when I was watching the Clarence Thomas hearings, preparing to go to law school. And he became, my hero at the time. So there's so many things that are happening, and I just could not be more thrilled.
Well,
but also thrilled for you, Kevin. Happy anniversary, by the way.
Well, thank you. Mrs. Miller wanted me to say hello to you, so I'm glad I could get that in.
Best. I like her much more than I like you. Right?
And I don't blame you, sir. I don't blame you. Thank you for. I really. We've known each other long enough. I don't blame you for that. As a fellow Reagan conservative, you have a great frame of reference. Is this more like 94? Is this Bush 88? Is there any comparisons to what happened Tuesday to what's happened historically with Republicans getting back in power, sir?
So I've been hearing a lot about this, and obviously we all watched the Reagan movie that was fantastic, and I've actually just listened to a podcast about the 80 election. And this is very similar to 80. So I was a little kid in the 80 election. I was still actually in Puerto Rico, 10 years old, and I remember the 80 election a little bit. But most of my frame of reference is just from reading history and reading books and listening to podcasts and stuff. In 80, if you remember, your listeners remember, it was tied all the way to almost a week before the election. And on election night, everybody thought there was even a chance that Jimmy Carter had a chance. And instead, it was a resounding victory by Reagan, and the polls were off. The people on the ground, the media, everybody thought that there was no chance that Reagan was going to win. And it's funny when I was listening to the podcast. Of all things, it's an NPR podcast, so it's obviously a little left leaning. But they were talking about how people thought he was a buffoon, that he was going to get us into World War III, that he didn't have the gravitas to actually deal with international leaders and heads of states. And everything they said about Reagan back then is the same things they have said about Trump. And the reality is that everyone today is a Reagan Republican, right? But back then, there were very few Reagan Republicans. Most people, including Republican Party bigwigs, thought that Reagan was a buffoon who could never be a good president. You ask anybody from that era now, and they all tell you that they're Reagan Republicans. They remember Reagan, but they weren't.
No, but it's funny geeking out of that as that you and I were both kids at the time, and Reagan has such a powerful influence. How do you think that that President Trump? Remember, again, we all know the humor of Reagan, the positivity, as you know from your personal interactions with the president, the president-elect. He's a different cat, but he has also appealed to men 18 to 34, which you and I were part of that group at one time.
Yeah. No, I think that's really what as I've been listening to the media talk about who's voted for Reagan, for Trump, it's interesting to see the similarities. Hispanic men actually voted, a majority of them voted for Trump. And Reagan also had an affinity with the Hispanic community. Young men voted in droves for Trump. White women, and I hate to use all these classifications because I don't see people as their different ethnicities or genders, and I hate that we do that as a society. But all these different groups actually gravitated towards him. Even the groups that he lost them by a smaller margin, and that's why Reagan became so great. Now, I'm not saying that Trump is Reagan because they have different personalities. The twinkle in Reagan's eye, his humor was very different. But the reality is that we live in a different era as well. Reagan was not dealing with the woke ideology that thought that we could trans our kids and that we could have men playing in women's sports. So we were dealing with a totally different world. Reagan would have laughed. Even Democrats back then would have laughed at some of the stuff that the Democratic Party is advocating for today. And you're seeing that happen in the morning shows. It's really interesting to watch MSNBC and CNN. They're actually saying, maybe the Democratic Party went too woke. And this is why they're losing all these different demographics. And I think that's exactly what happened. When I talk to normal people, average people, non-political people, they cannot believe that we're actually having a fight about whether we should trans our kids, that we should actually allow kids to take chemicals, to take medicines, to take off body parts, to do permanent damages to their bodies, that they just cannot even fathom that this is happening. It's actually an 85% issue in America. Think about the last time that there was an 85% issue where people opposed it, and the Democratic Party went all in on that.
Attorney General Raul Labrador, anything else you would like to share with us? We appreciate you adjusting your schedule for us today, sir.
No problem. I'm just really proud of the people of Idaho. I thank them. There were a lot of people that worked really hard in Idaho to make sure, obviously, that Trump won, but that we got rid of Proposition 1. And I think that the party did a great job. I think the legislators who worked against it, you got to give a lot of credit to Dorothy Moon, to Mike Moyle, and all the people that worked really hard to make sure that this happened. There were people in southeastern Idaho, Frank Vandersloot with Melaleuca did a lot of work down there. So I think this was, I haven't seen people in Idaho work so together to make sure that a bad idea from liberal groups was defeated, and I'm just very proud of everyone.
Well, and we're proud of you, sir. We appreciate it. And Mrs. Miller, again, a big fan of yours, says hello. So I will just be content to be your second favorite Miller, or I'm sure you know a lot of other Millers. I'd like to make the top 10, but I understand, sir.
It's always great to be on your show.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Our great friend, the Attorney General, Raul Labrador, Kevin Miller. Good morning.
Morning, Kevin.
Welcome home.
I was so happy yesterday with the election and all. I went out to visit another conservative patriot friend out in Meridian, and on the way, I pulled into Stanton and made a donation in your name for the little babies and all. And I'd like to challenge the grumpy negative lawyer Mark, who I'm sure he's still working on a big old bowl of crow. I challenge him to go out and make a donation at Stanton to help out the little babies in need. It always makes it'll make you feel better, lift your spirits when you're just helping out the little youngsters like that. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Anti-Mark in Boise. Tea Party Bob joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio, the Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. A great show this morning. Thank you very much. And thanks for having Al on. He's a breath of fresh air today because he knows his history. I will say the primary reason the United States became a dominant manufacturing company in the world was that for over 150 years we protected the growth of American industry through tariffs. In fact, the first tariff was passed by Congress in 1789. You know, America was the largest manufacturing company in the world, which is one of the reasons we won World War II, because we outmanufactured our enemies. You know, and it wasn't till 1914, tariffs averaged at about 20%. And at times they actually financed the whole federal government. It was Truman who began the free trade, eliminating the tariffs, trying to help Japan and Germany rebuild. And, you know, this was the beginning of our demise. It started the World Trade Organization and globalization, bringing China in as the most favored nation status. And what happened is manufacturing slowly disappeared from America to the point where we have become a service economy. And boy, you guys talk about Reagan when you're talking with Labrador. It was Reaganomics and supply-side economics that brought back 8 years of prosperity. In only a week, Reagan lifted the price and allocation controls on oil and gas. He opened up almost the entire U.S. coastline for oil drilling, which was previously only 2.5% that was allowed to be drilled on. He cut taxes for individuals, corporations, removed regulations, eliminating price controls, slowed the growth of spending and social programs, and tightened the money supply to control inflation. This created higher employment and greater supply of goods and services and a reduction in the cost of doing business. He saw government was the problem. Trump is following in Reagan's steps, but a lot further by bringing back manufacturing to the U.S., using tariffs while keeping taxes low and eliminating regulations that cost us trillions of dollars. You know, Trump will greatly expand the oil and gas exploration to make this a net exporter of energy. And he's going to treat America as a business instead of a piggy bank for the elitists and the costly social programs they have instituted through the years. You know, America will be great again in the next 4 years. And while Reagan increased the debt by $1.86 trillion, he didn't grow the economy fast enough to offset that. I do believe that Trump is going to be able to grow the economy fast enough. And a lot of this has to do with the advances in oil drilling, especially fracking. But you're going to see some big changes. He is going to be the second Reagan, believe it or not. And we are going to build our defenses back up and our armies and navies back up to where they should be in the world. I think he's going to be very successful, my friend. And like I said, we've seen this before. Now we're going to get a second taste of it.
Tea Party Bob, anything else you'd like to share with us on the future of the Republic?
Happy anniversary.
Yes, you knew me before, Mrs. Miller. I drove by I got a haircut, so I drove by the old neighborhood and where you and I used to hang out, the old Beacon Lane house.
I need a selfie.
Tea Party Bob, God bless you. Check out his work at the gemstatepatriot.com. Our best to your partner, Mike. Hope he's doing well, getting better, and we look forward to more of your interviews. And I know this interview endeavor you're very excited about, and we're very excited as well for you, both of you.
Thank you very much, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful day. Just remember what happened to, what was his name, Solomon, when he lost his hair?
Samson.
That was it, Samson. I got the name wrong again.
I know. I've lost all of mine. I'll be on the way. Thank you, sir.
Take care, my friend.
Thank you. A happy Tea Party Bob.
We need to really take a step back and think about what does that say about us.
People who woke up this morning with a dream and are going to bed with a nightmare.
I'd like to know what that says about us as a country.
I'm mystified in some ways. Who
Joe
are we as a
Biden.
country? And we're starting to find out. And from what I'm seeing right now, I'm not sure I like it.
And the daddy goes, shut up and eat your grasshopper.
Great day to continue to enjoy a wonderful victory. America has come home, and we should all be proud of ourselves. Great job, everyone. God bless, keep the faith, and Kevin Miller loves you.